about this, and we've combined some of the best Czech solutions that help create smart and sustainable cities, places where people want to live. Imagine yourself in a city of tomorrow, a city for your future. The first rays of sun wake the city up and pour energy into its veins. A smart grid assures efficient distribution of energy from local sources to the closest points of demand. Sharing energy gives a new meaning to your community and gets you in sync with the cycles of nature. Yet, the sun can power your house or charge a car, even at night. How so? Thanks to battery storage that accumulates solar energy from the day. Morning routines are easy with digital identity. Your work agenda is one click away with peace of mind about online security. Leaving for a meeting? Don't skip breakfast. Scientifically balanced food with 42 essential nutrients is available in seconds. Health is a priority. Want to know if you should walk, drive a shared car, or take public transport? A mobility app uses real-time data to find the best options and keep you on track. Our city is running on renewable sources, but not exclusively. Ultra-safe small reactors cover fluctuations and ensure the city is fully energy independent. Control systems weigh and measure vehicles as traffic flows by. Those that pass are allowed into the city. Overweight and oversized ones are reported and diverted to maintain functional and damage-free roads and infrastructure. AI crossroads make traffic lights responsive to people and traffic and alert drivers through co-op units in vehicles. No worries, crossing and driving the streets is safer than ever. Hello again, AI Vision. Thanks for solving parking for me. This used to be a nerve-wracking experience. Not anymore. It's a pleasure to come across a smart pole with all the public goods it provides. A charger comes in handy. Leave fire risks and lengthy charging times in the past. Cars now have battery pack coolers. Smart trees revive the city environment. Greenery and water purify the air and alleviate your mood. Forget buying and validating tickets or being checked. Simply activate your transportation pass with digital identity. Did you know hydrogen trams are extra clean and need no overhead lines? Capacity issues in peak hours are eased by modularity. Autonomous modules expand trains where and when needed. Now, let's take a break and shop online for groceries. It saves you precious time and is effortless with a personalized guide. What's it like when sustainability, nutrition, and care for your health combine? The wide range of fresh local produce and data-driven superfoods provides a clear answer. Your favorite plant burger and cricket protein bar are no-brainers. Optimized logistics help deliver them to you when it suits you best with a minimal environmental footprint. Dynamic distribution of goods is crucial. AI sets strategic locations for logistics centers to supply the city with max efficiency. Using satellites and data from space, your order is processed where it makes most sense. Eager for locally produced premium quality food? Meet and appreciate the hydroponic, aquaponic, and cricket farms, transforming the power of the sun into valuable nutrition. Cricket farms upcycle organic waste and provide environmentally friendly proteins. These can enhance any common food, such as fruit bars. Hydroponic farms grow plants with no need for soil. Picture an ecosystem where the sun, water, and bumblebees, helped by people and robots, work together in harmony. Aquaponic farms bet on natural synergy between plants and fish. The circular system saves water and guarantees 100% organic produce. Great, plants are ready for harvest. Why not use some of them to create high-tech, nutrient-charged meals, such as your favorite green burger? Let's take a ride with Fresh Supplies. Autonomous robots assure the flow of goods in the production area and last-mile deliveries to customers. Warehouses use software predicting demand and supply. What a relief in optimizing production and stock. It saves energy and prevents waste. Want to look inside? AI-driven X-ray vision checks quality and makes sure your orders are on track. A shipping software arranges the best means of transport and generates cloud documentation. Cargo drones are convenient for deliveries as they ease ground traffic. Rest assured, automation and robots make your deliveries smooth and reliable, and they liberate people for more creative tasks. The drone finds your location. Ready? SMS, go. With the Galileo satellite system, it knows where and you know when. Ever seen your city from a bird's eye view? There is so much going on. Big data is no longer a scary phenomenon, but a valued advisor integrated into a smart city platform. The infrastructure responds to events and people stay informed via a public portal. Grid analytics is just one of many layers where real-time data helps detect and promptly solve problems. No more blackouts. Nature suits the city centre. Green facades clean the air and cool down building envelopes by up to 30 degrees Celsius. Curious where all the water comes from? Capillary irrigation uses wastewater, a cleaning technology, and plant roots recycle and reuse it. Even bees feel at home here. Remotely monitored beehives give them full comfort. Add a rooftop microfarm and you have perks no employee would reject. A simple verification and the package is yours. New energy for your meeting. Accessing buildings has never been easier. Open the door with a simple phone gesture and you are logged in to enjoy all amenities at hand. Feel free to use HerberShares or dive into a hybrid office experience to check occupancy and handle workspace bookings. Time to enjoy meetings. Modular partitions with noise cancellation and digital blinds allow for privacy. Let's turn them into interactive walls. All files are at your fingertips, securely accessed with digital identity. How to keep everyone fresh and focused. Intelligent sensors maintain the optimal values of the interior with the environmental index. Yes, signing off. What are your plans for tonight? Hybrid personal aircraft make vertical takeoff and landing possible anywhere within a 700-kilometer radius. Where to? Beach, mountains, meeting friends in another city, or joining family at home? The sky opens all options for you. In 2050, two-thirds of the population will live in cities. But what will cities look like? Will they offer a good quality life? We thought about this, and we've combined some of the best Czech solutions that
Dobrý den všem. Good morning, everybody. Let me welcome you at the EU Western Balkans Smart Cities Economic Forum. My name is Martin Pospíšil. I'm head of Department of Bilateral Trade at the Ministry of Industry and Trade, and I will lead you through this morning session. It's my honor to welcome here the members of the first panel, and before we start, I will just remind you of a few technicalities. I would suggest if you could switch off ringing of your mobile phones. On the other hand, there is translation. You see the numbers of channels. So for Albanian, it's number 2. For Macedonian, it's number 3. And for Serbo-Croatian, it's number 4. There is Wi-Fi available on the pillars. You see the access codes to it. Those are quite pleasant news. There is one which is not that pleasant, and this is the fact that we have to present excuses by Mr. Minister Josef Sikela, our today's host, who unfortunately will have to join the closed session of the Parliament and cannot be with us today. But we have a very distinguished representative of him at the ministry at the same time, and this is a special envoy of Minister for Czech Presidency, Mr. Tomáš Prouza, to whom I will give the floor just now. Tomáš, the floor is yours.
Martin, thank you for welcoming all of us so efficiently, for getting us all here also on time and a full room. Ladies and gentlemen, dear Deputy Minister, dear State Secretary, ambassadors, dear partners from the Western Balkan countries, European friends and colleagues, our friends, it is my pleasure to welcome you at the EU Western Balkans Smart Cities Economic Forum organized by the Czech Ministry of Industry and Trade. It is part of the events we've been putting together for the Czech presidency, and I'm very glad that we can focus so much on the cooperation with Western Balkans because, you know, it has always been very important for the Czech Republic, and we believe we can keep moving together forward to our common European future. What I really like about the program today is that it's already a second day, that many of you had the opportunity to experience many of the smart city solutions in the Czech Republic yesterday, that we had a chance to meet each other yesterday evening, and today what I think is the most important part of this program is that there will be many interesting panel discussions. That will look at sustainable urban development that hopefully will contribute to strengthening the mutual relations between European Union and the Western Balkan countries. I'm very pleased that we all gathered here and that we will have an opportunity to think about the important topics of development. In the current situation, in the current feeling of crisis outside of this room, throughout Europe, when we see so much uncertainty, so many doubts about the future, making sure that we can showcase positive examples is very important, and also that we can share the experience we all have and we can learn from each other is something I really value. You know that the collaboration between the Czech Republic and Western Balkans has been long-standing. It's been based on common friendship, and I think most importantly for me, it keeps growing. When I look at the past, I see where we are today. There is something that we all can be very proud of. Also, I think you know very well that the business people coming from the Czech Republic have always been a very reliable partner of the Western Balkan countries, and that we have proven again and again that we can deliver what we promise. Nowadays, we support the development of bilateral economic ties and trade exchanges through the implementation of many different tools. We've signed agreements of bilateral economic cooperation with every country in the Western Balkans region, and that enables us very effectively to meet with our partners regularly, share information about projects, and work on the planned investments so that we have this positive trajectory I was mentioning just a moment ago. Today, as always, since the Czech Republic has become a member of the European Union, integration with Western Balkans into the EU remains one of the principal foreign policy priorities of the Czech Republic, and that is also why we focused so intensively on the Western Balkans when we were developing our presidency program. You know that after more than 2 years of negotiations, the accession talks with Albania and North Macedonia were finally opened at the beginning of our presidency. In October, we invited the Western Balkans energy ministers into the informal meeting of energy ministers here in Prague, and we had the opportunity to discuss the energy crisis because it is not limited to the EU. This is something the whole Europe needs to address, both the crisis, preparation for winter, and I think more importantly, preparation for the next winter. Because we all focus on this one, we're forgetting there will be another winter coming. And as you know, the future of enlargement process will be discussed in significant detail at the Tirana summit between the EU and the Western Balkans. It is the first time such a summit takes place actually in the Western Balkans. That is also something we worked very actively on, and we'll do everything we can to speed up the enlargement process, even though we know it is always very complicated. But also, as you can see today, our cooperation goes much deeper than the accession talks and does not involve only the government level, but I think what I find very valuable focuses also on the cooperation of municipalities, because in the end, this is what people see in their daily lives, how they live in their cities, how easy it is, how the situation improves. And this municipal level, which is much closer to every people's everyday life, has often been overlooked. We've often kept the discussions in government to government levels and not thinking about how we can make it more tangible. But when you look at the level of towns and municipalities, worldwide cities host more than 57% of the worldwide population. But they also produce more than 70% of emissions and consume more than 75% of energy produced. So that's why it is so important to talk about sustainability, about green and digital transition on the level of municipalities, because there is where you can make a lot of significant change. Local smart city strategies can also represent key factors in increasing quality of life, improving environmental protection, and also I think what has becoming much more important, cut down energy consumption in the times of needs like we have today. But there are also hundreds and hundreds of digital projects that make everyday life easier, and these little changes are what matters in political life very much. So the green transition, the digital transition is something that I also believe can be a significant contribution of the EU to the changes in Western Balkans and bringing all of us much closer together. And this economic forum aims to promote what I would call, a coherent philosophy for urban development. What is more important, building this on proven concepts, proven projects, and our day-to-day experiences. And today, our speakers will offer multi-sectoral sustainable solutions, share ideas how to combat the impact of climate change. We see it more and more visibly, and emphasize the role of expanding international cooperation and investment links. Ladies and gentlemen, there's maybe one thing I would like us to promise to one another. Sometimes we tend to forget the daily needs, we tend to postpone decisions, we tend to take it slow because sometimes change is too complicated. But let's promise one another that we will keep pushing on, we will take advantage of this economic forum, and when we meet again, we will be able to showcase so many more interesting projects, and hopefully some of those projects would be born here today in Prague. Thank you very much for being here.
Well, thank you very much. And now let me turn to our co-organizer representative, which is the representative of Association of Industry and Transport, namely its Vice President, Mr. František Chaloupecký. Please, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Special envoy for Czech presidency, Mr. Tomáš Prouza, Vice President of the European Investment Bank, Liliana Pavlova, ladies and gentlemen, dear guests. To begin with, me express my greatest honor to be here with you today at the European Union Western Balkans Smart Cities Economic Forum. I am pleased that the Confederation of Industry of the Czech Republic is part of this event. Czech Confederation of Industry and Transport is the strongest association of companies in the Czech Republic. We support common interest of 31 associations from various sectors of industry and services, more than 160 direct members, and more than 11,000 companies of many shapes and sizes. At international level, we are members of Confederation Business Europe, which plays an important part in lobbying the European MPs and the Council on behalf of its members. We have permanent office in Brussels. Trade relations with the countries of the Western Balkan region have a long tradition dating back to the times of the former Czechoslovakia. Our countries are also tied together by cultural and historical links. We would also like to be joined together in the European Union. While some Balkan states are already a permanent part of the European Union, 6 Western Balkan countries are associated within precious treaties. The Czech Republic is a long-term supporter of European Union expansion to include Western Balkan states, and this support is highly visible during the current European Union presidency. Right at the beginning of our presidency, the first intergovernmental conference between representatives of the European Union with Albania and North Macedonia took place. We also support Bosnia and Herzegovina and Kosovo to have a status of potential candidate. Each of these countries has a lot of offer Czech investors and exporters of goods and services. Albania, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and Kosovo are modernizing their energy infrastructure and their water management and waste management-based systems. Montenegro is rapidly developing its sector. North Macedonia and Serbia are moving ahead, rebuilding their economies with the help of smart technologies and reinforcing their economies with the application of latest technologies. The Czech Republic is among the most industrialized countries on the globe, and I can confirm the quality of the Czech products, innovations, and intellectual property have not only tradition, but well-known reputation in present times. Czech companies are strong in many fields of manufacturing and services. This doesn't mean only export, but also manufacturing cooperation, joint venture, and investments. In the last year, we have been facing many crises, starting with the COVID crisis and continuing with the current war in Ukraine, which caused the energy crisis in Europe, extremely high inflation rate, price instability on the goods and services market, and general insecurity in the global economy. The negative situation is a trade economy, and the threat of recession show how important and necessary the close cooperation and unity are. Let me wish you a very successful economic forum which will provide you with more information about financing, export and business opportunities on both sides and at the same time will provide you with a deeper understanding of the other economies. I am sure that we may overcome any difficulties and challenging times. We just have to be unite, strong, and cooperate closer, because only smooth, strong, and stable economic cooperation may provide economic stability, which is crucial for the peace and well-being of us all. Thank you for attention. And one more will come in Prague, will come in Czech Republic. Thank you very much. And I am sure that together discussion will be very good for all firm companies when staying here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. František Chaloupecký. And now we will listen to keynote speech by Mrs. Liliana Pavlova, Vice President of EIB, who unfortunately cannot be with us in physical form, but send us a video message. So if I may ask the video message for the EIB.
Dear Minister Shikela, honorable ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the opportunity to address you today at this forum that fosters regional cooperation and economic ties. The EIB has been supporting the Western Balkans region for many years. Since 2009 to date, the EIB has invested almost 9.5 billion euro in the Western Balkans across all sectors, supporting the vital infrastructure and private sector development, which makes the EIB one of the largest international lenders in the region. The European Union has demonstrated its unwavering solidarity to help overcome unforeseen challenges in Europe and beyond during past years. The EIB stood ready to deliver when Europe has faced joint challenges over the past decade. During the sovereign crisis and amidst the pandemic alike, the EIB was turned into counter-cyclical economic policy instrument so that in times of a liquidity deficit we could restart investments on the continent. Moreover, our advisory services are another core element of the activities we have, which makes EIB different from other financial institutions. The pandemic showed that, united under Team Europe initiative, our action can be fast and broad-based, bringing global-scale impact in tackling one of the worst healthcare crises in the recent history. Now we are teaming up with the European Commission in implementing the ambitious REPowerEU strategy that is going to fast-forward decarbonization of Europe and reduce dependency on Russian fossil fuels. Outside of the EU, the mandate for the EIB operation is agreed between the European Commission, European Parliament and the Council of EU. In May this year, we signed a new guarantee agreement with the European Commission to support up to 26.7 billion euro of EIB financial operations worldwide in sectors like clean energy, digital and transport infrastructure, health and education. More than two-thirds of this guarantee is planned for investments in enlargement and neighborhood countries. In order to strengthen our activities outside of EU, earlier this year we launched a dedicated branch, EIB Global, for operations outside of the EU. The EIB Global is our dedicated arm, which includes a shift in our operating model, notably with the reinforcement of our local presence and much more tailor-made approach. For the Western Balkans, this means more resources for financing and grants, experts on the ground fully dedicated to local projects, and more partnerships together with the European Commission. This has already helped increase our support for key education, transport, and environmental protection projects in the region. For example, we have allocated 2 technical assistance grants in Kosovo during this year for the expansion of the district heating system in Pristina and improving capacities of public universities. Along with addressing the current crisis, we have diligently continued to encourage climate, innovation and digitalization, SMEs and sustainability, which are at the heart of the EIB strategy. Green and digital transition and innovation are key drivers to have smart cities. Accelerating these initiatives will lead to more resilient and sustainable economies. We need also to ensure just transition for all by coupling up climate objectives with positive socioeconomic outcomes, preventing job losses and negative impact on most vulnerable communities. This will be done through financing, policy engagement, technical advice, and knowledge sharing. Such is the case, for example, with the rehabilitation of urban transport project in Sarajevo, that is going to improve the impact on environment, the quality of public transport, and everyday life for people in Sarajevo. The public sector and SMEs in particular will also need strategic support to increase their energy efficiencies and green practices, which are still not sufficiently adopted among the companies in the region of WEF member countries. Analyses show that as much as 60% of total energy saving could be achieved in the less energy-intensive sector. Targeted policy measures, together with the increasing capacities and access to finance, are the right way forward in tackling challenges. Companies and public sector alike need massive financing support to become greener, more digitalized, and innovative. To help mobilize more funds and expertise to meet all current and future challenges in our cities, we see partnerships are the right way forward. In this regard, facilitating the public-private partnerships through technical support to get the projects off the ground will also be one of our priorities. They contribute to the development of public infrastructure and services, as well as facilitate SMEs access to finance for investments in digital and green transition areas, sustainable cities, and human development. They can also help bringing the current fiscal gaps for key infrastructure projects and private sector projects too. The already mentioned challenges also require innovative financial instruments. The EIB has introduced innovative credit lines with social and climate component to help companies move forward with climate and energy-efficient projects and expand their workforce by employing people from vulnerable social groups. Speaking about partnerships and innovative financing, I would like to mention also an example, the EU for the Green Agenda in Serbia initiative, a flagship initiative implemented by the United Nations Development Programme with the financial support of the EU and in partnership with Serbia's Ministry of Environment Protection, EIB Global, the Swedish Embassy, and the Government of Switzerland. 83 innovative, environmental-friendly plans aiming to accelerate the green transformation, climate action, and job creation have been selected to receive technical and financial implementation support. The proposed ideas provide new or improved business models and technologies that will lead to more efficient use of resources and reduction and reuse of waste. Their aim is to address specific climate challenges, such as increasing the share of renewable energy sources, improving air quality, and restoring forest ecosystems and green urban areas. In conclusion, I assure you that the EIB Group, together with the European Commission and our local partners, can play a decisive role in supporting you in developing smart cities and implementing your projects. Today, with you in Prague are a few colleagues who will share more insights on how we can operate. We have a regional representation in Belgrade, local representatives in Skopje, Sarajevo, and Tirana, and all of them would be glad to discuss with you possibilities for supporting you with all available advisory and financial support. Thank you for your attention.
So, thank you on distance to the representative of European Investment Bank. I take from her words that the institution, the bank, is ready to support modernization projects, greening your economies. and to support large projects beyond the normal financial capacities of your government, which is very positive piece of news. So that concludes the opening panel, or few opening speeches, and let us move to the panel number 1, which will be devoted to the very interesting topic, Western Balkans economic cooperation in the field of green and digital transition. The panel is in the hands of Mr. Tomáš Prouza, to whom I'm again giving the floor. Tomáš, the floor is yours.
Dear Martin, thank you very much. If I would like to invite also Ambassador Milarevic to join us. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, it is a pleasure to have you all here. And I think the panel we'll start with is something very interesting for several reasons. You know that for the Czech presidency, the enlargement of the EU has always been a significant priority. Always try to be very active in the Western Balkan countries. I think we all Martin, my colleagues, have a lot of personal friends in the Western Balkans, and I think that is also very important for us. And there have always been a couple of different levels of the discussions. One was, of course, discussing the enlargement itself, trying to push some of the more reluctant countries, if I may want to call that, in the EU to move the process along. But I think what we also need is to make this process much more practical. Share a specific experience, talk about the things we can improve, and see how we can support the Western Balkan countries in these uncertain times. I think today, with what is happening, it is much more important than any time in the past. It is, of course, partially about funding. I'm glad Lena Pavlova has been very clear on that. We also have colleagues from the European Investment Banks in the auditorium. So again, a lot of practical questions can be still directed to Liliana's colleagues. We also always talk about the regulatory alignment, because I think the EU, one of the things, probably sometimes it's a good thing that we set the rules. You know, the EU also has its global rule-setting standards. We see it especially in the digital agenda, when the EU develops the rules that are then copied by other countries, other regions around the world. So this regulatory alignment is another important part of all of us becoming closer together. And the investment, bilateral investments, is something that binds us together. I think if I can oversimplify, I think we need to strengthen our interconnections so much that it will be too painful to put down the Iron Curtain once again. And we need to be so well connected that it would not make any sense at all. But with that, let me introduce you to the first panel. We have on my left is Ambassador Martina Mlinarevic of Bosnia and Herzegovina. Thank you very much for being here. Next to her, Mentor Arifaj, Deputy Minister of the Ministry of Trade and Industry of Kosovo. Thank you. Then we have Armen Mila, the State Secretary for the Ministry of Economic Development of Montenegro. We also have in between them Ilian Kuka, the Ambassador of Albania. And Darko Nikolic, Councillor of the Embassy of Serbia. And we have one more special guest being with us online from Brussels, Richard Mácha, Head of Sector of the Western Balkans Investment Framework of DG NIR. And hopefully we do see Richard on the screen. And Richard, if you don't mind, I'll start with you. Because one of the things I was mentioning is investment, bringing all of us together, binding us together in Europe. And maybe later on we will get into specific issues like crisis response. But I would like you to give us the broader framework of the European Investment Partnership, especially the Western Balkans Investment Framework, because that is something we all see as a key tool to support our becoming closer, becoming more interconnected. So maybe I think it's fitting, Richard, that you actually start to give us the overall picture for the moment, and we'll go back to the specifics a bit later.
Thank you very much, and good morning from Brussels, dear State Secretary, dear Deputy Minister, ambassadors, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, first of all, I'm really sorry that I cannot be with you in beautiful Prague, but at the same time, I'm very grateful for this opportunity to address you with few thoughts how we work in the Western Balkans and how we help to attract investments that are very much in line with the green and digital transition. So as you may know, our main, let's say, bedrock to bring the investments in Western Balkans is via the Economic and Investment Plan that we launched in October 2020. And this EIP will not only boost the economic recovery of the region, but will also ensure green and digital recovery. This is important for the people in Western Balkans, and this is also equally crucial for accession path of our partners in the region. And just to start with the key figure, 9 billion euro of EU grants are available for the implementation of this plan in the course of next 7 years. This is close to 1/3 of the GDP of the region and could contribute to a 3.6% real GDP growth in the coming years. And while many know about the blending of grants and loans and national co-financing in the region, I would also like to use the opportunity and mention guarantees that are also a cornerstone of the Economic Investment Plan, as they have a potential of raising another investment of up to 20 billion euros for the region. To give you an example that can actually serve very well the purpose of this conference, the guarantees can contribute to crowding additional financing for a broad range of municipal activities, including renewable energy generation, energy efficiency, sanitation, wastewater management, digital connectivity, and municipal e-services infrastructure and ecosystems. So while fighting climate change is a horizontal objective for all investments outlined in the EIP, the digital and green recovery are cornerstones of this plan. Out of 9 priority areas, 3 genuinely focus on green and digital transition. To channel these investments to the region, we implement them via the Western Balkans Investment Framework, which brings together European Commission, international financial institutions, and also EU member states to ensure our combined support is as efficient as possible. I'm happy also to confirm that the implementation of the EIP is in full swing. Last year, we had endorsement of 24 investment projects for the region that are expected to leverage 3.4 billion euro of investments, and out of which 1.2 billion are the EU grants. So this will certainly bring very tangible benefits to the region. And this is just the beginning. What I also would like to say is that, as it has been mentioned, we are facing yet another crisis. And we were happy to see that the architecture, how we put the WBIF together, is actually versatile enough to serve, really, to be able to help at the time when it is needed. So energy, as being one of the flagships under the EIP, has been, we were able to attract and generate a sufficient number of energy-related projects to help the region exactly at the time when it was needed. Last but not least, I can mention what our President, Ursula von der Leyen, announced during the Berlin summit on the 3rd of November, is the 1 billion euro energy support package that will be available to the region. At the same time, within the EIP and mirroring the European Green Deal, we have launched the Green Agenda for Western Balkans. We believe that European Green Deal can only be fully effective if the EU in immediate neighborhood, and that's Western Balkans, take action at an early stage, also in line with of their European perspective. And the Green Agenda aims to unlock the potential of the region in the circular economy, promote sustainable production patterns and food systems, exploit the huge tourism potential of your region's natural environment, and address the cost of non-action on pollution, including on healthcare systems. The agenda goes thus beyond the climate and energy policies and fosters linkages between all policy areas. Let me be very clear here. This is not a Commission policy without the support of the region. The leaders of Western Balkans adopted the agenda in the Sofia summit in November 2020, and they adopted also agreed on the action plans for the implementation of this agenda in Brdo summit last year. So we are committed to work together with the authorities in Western Balkans to turn the commitments in the Green Agenda into reality. Thus, we have foreseen also a substantial regional project, the EU for Green, to support the implementation and the authorities in the Western Balkan region in implementing these action plans. Let me also give you two more examples. The SME Go Green project that will generate another 150 million investments and technical assistance to support small and medium enterprises to scale up their green investments, greening the agriculture and the agriculture value chains. Another example is the EU Growth for All guarantee, which will soon be signed for another 40 million euros, where we are helping a special part of the segment, and that's women-led SMEs, youth-led SMEs, and agribusinesses. Last but not least, I would like to mention that the investing in digital future is one of the main priorities of the EIP. With our support and the Regional Cooperation Council, since 2018, the Western Balkans are implementing digital agenda for the region. Voluntary lowering of the data roaming is part and parcel of this digital priority, and we believe that it will lead to an improved environment for businesses and also telecom operators on both sides. The Commission is facilitating negotiations with the operators, and we hope that this process will start in 2023. I will stop here if there are any questions, and I'm really happy to have this opportunity and participate in this panel. Thank you very much.
Richard, thank you very much for giving us the broad framework. We'll definitely come back to you. I think we all need to hear then a bit more on the crisis response, because that is something that's on everybody's minds. And also specifically, because I think one of the things we in the past failed to learn was to put a price on security. Very much when we look at investments, even in public infrastructure, we were looking at the daily cost, we were looking at the cost of the investment, and we forgot to price in the security aspect, and especially in the energy infrastructure, and now it's coming to haunt us. But again, we'll get back to that a bit later. One of the things Richard mentioned, I think is very important, is the need for access to finance, because there are so many projects we all know we could do. There are so many projects we would like to have. And you know that yesterday we celebrated the 33rd anniversary of the Velvet Revolution from 1989. And when I look back, the lack of access to finance in the early 1990s was what led to some of the things we would like to avoid with hindsight. So again, having now all of the investment possibilities is very important. That's why I'm very glad that Richard is here with us. But let me go back to the panel here. And Armen, maybe let me start with you. When you look at Montenegro, and we talk about digital transformation, green transformation, but if you were to actually describe it to the people of Montenegro and give them a clear example, what would be the key changes the green and digital transformation would bring to the people in Montenegro? what would be the key elements?
First of all, thank you very much. It is a pleasure being part of this panel discussion, of course, with all these people here. Let me begin by saying that Montenegro is a small country, and whatever we deal with seriously, but on the other hand, we are facing as well as challenges. When it comes to digitalization and green economy, of course, being a transition country, we are facing the challenges, but we are dealing with that. And Montenegrin government has 5 pillars, which are currently very important for us, starting with green economy, starting from with digital transformation, which is very important, not only for us, but for the whole world, because COVID has made us aware that that is the thing that we need to deal with, and that is the easiest way to sort the problems. Of course, then we are talking about the regional cooperation. Being a small country and being in Western Balkans, it needs regional cooperation, good practices in order to apply them in our country as well. Then we have a social welfare, which is very important, high quality of life, which is probably one of the pillars that is very important, not only for Montenegro, but for all countries. Then we have good governance. Of course, those are the challenges that we are now currently facing. But when we talk about digitalization, unfortunately, we had a cyber attack, not only us, but the 3 more countries in Europe, and it led us to believe that basically we didn't give enough effort and we didn't give enough importance to the digitalization of the system, but then again connecting it with the security as well. Of course, there is a gap in between digitalization in our country and the average EU average. But with the strategies that we are currently implementing, which is the strategy of digital transformation 2022-2026, and the strategy of the smart specialization, which is from 2019 to 2023, we are analyzing, and we are finding all the problems that we are dealing with and sorting it one by one. Of course, it is a challenge. But for now, we are doing a great job. On the other hand, when it comes to businesses that are related to green economy, that are related to digitalization, the government of Montenegro is applying different programs, which are programs like grants, like for businesses that want to transfer from a normal way of making business to the digitalization and to the green economy. And we are doing great. Of course, we need to improve that. For now, we gave around 1 million euros like grants for businesses, but that number will be doubled for 2023. So that will be all for now.
Aaron, thank you very much. I think there's a couple of rules. We also tend to say that Czech Republic is a small country. Then you realize we're actually the 9th largest in the EU. The other option, of course, is say small is beautiful. But I think what is very important, what you mentioned, is the regional cooperation. We've seen it also in Central Europe, that actually working together is very important, and I'm very glad that that was one of the focuses you were mentioning.
Regional cooperation is very important for us. We have a chairmanship for Southeastern European cooperation process. So what is very important in these times is maintaining peace. That is the most important thing. Then when we talk about the regional cooperation, we need to mainly focus on green transition in sharing good experiences from other countries in the Western Balkans. And basically, Western Balkans has a history. And that history is, again, haunting us in different areas. But we need to, avoid those problems in order to face the new problems that we are currently having, and to sort all those problems together. Because when it is an old saying that if three brains think much better than one brain. So basically, if we share our experience, if we share our problems with all the countries of the Western Balkans, then we will definitely find a better solution. So regional cooperation is almost probably one of the most crucial parts when it comes to Montenegro. So.
Thank you very much. Well, when you mention brains think together, maybe then let me pass the floor to Ambassador Mlinarevic. When you look at Bosnia and Herzegovina, we all talk about the green and digital transition, but if you were to choose some of the challenges, something where you would like to see help, what would these be?
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Prauza, and thank you, Ministry of Industry and Trade of the Czech Republic, for organizing this wonderful forum and allow me to be here today with you. And in particular, because I come from the part of the country, it's Herzegovina, where is the sunniest and the windiest part of my country. So I will mainly focus on the green transition of my country. So in terms of meeting climate goals, Bosnia and Herzegovina has a long way to go. Over 60% of the country's energy hails from fossil fuels, as we know, primary coal. The country plans to institute a system for CO2 pricing and trading by January 2026, which could cost the coal industry dearly. The greatest hurdles are on the state's complicated distribution of the competencies in the field of energy and the powerful interests of the coal industry. In terms of law enabling renewable energy, I must mention that Republic of Srpska recently passed statutes that allows households to both produce and consume electricity. And also Bosnia and Herzegovina has so far built 3 wind power plants, Mesihovina, Jelovača and Podvelezhje, and projects with a total capacity of 2.2 gigawatts are in the pipeline, I hope very soon in the future. So I will focus now to tell you more about what we've done and what we are planning to do in the next period. So we have this Danish Sazlon Energy kicks off construction of wind farm in Sarajevo Canton. It will meet about 40% of the canton's electricity needs. The wind farm is the canton's tickets to enter the community of green energy producers. Also, 2 international consortiums plans to invest total of 160 million euros in 2 solar plants in the municipality of Sokolac. At the same time, the Central Bosnia canton has invited bids for a concession for 2 photovoltaic power plants in Bugojno. There are also bids for concessions to develop a solar park in Bileća, and Elektroprivreda Bosnia and Herzegovina plans to install a 30 megawatt solar park near Podvelezhje wind farm, and the largest project has announced by firm EcoHat from Kiseljak. Ventus Industria plans to build the first hybrid power plant in Bosnia, a solar and wind farm in Ravno, and it is on south of the country at the border with Croatia, and it's very good connected with Croatia by a highway. Ruđer Bošković Energy Plant is planned as an intelligent hybrid system that will comprise 10 wind turbines with the individual capacity of 6 megawatts and photovoltaic panels with the overall capacity of 20 megawatts. Wind from Jeva in Glamoč also got energy permit approval, and wind farm projects Slovin and Jeva of 138 megawatts and 46 megawatts. It is about 84% controlled by Nova Energia from Croatia, and municipality of Glamoč controls the remainder. And also I need to mention that ongoing energy crisis and efforts to reduce reliance on Russian gas have resulted in a revival of electricity generation from coal, unfortunately, slowing down the decarbonization process, and 2 large-scale projects were announced in Republic of Srpska. Czech company Witkovic is interested in building a 350 megawatt coal-fired power plants, Gatsko, investment valued at 521 millions. And if I may just conclude, by adopting the Green Agenda, Bosnia and Herzegovina agreed to be a part of this plan, obviously, and we have the guidelines for creating and implementing policies at the level of EU political commitment in the Western Balkans and Bosnia and Herzegovina, and the finding tools that will enable the transition, but only if we stop neglecting the facts and start accepting the transformation. So green transition is a topic that goes beyond political ideologies and which must be in focus of society, and it will definitely mark the rest of our lives, both the green transition and the digital transition. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. Thank you for sharing the practical examples. I know we talk very much about sharing experience, learning from each other. Well, it is one thing that please do not learn from. It is our bureaucracy around building renewables. I think, we're very bad at that, I have to admit it. And also when the European Union started talking about the responses to the current energy crisis, there have been basically 2 key issues we focused on. One was cutting the demand for gas and electric energy. And the second one, a lot of work we've done as a Czech presidency, was actually speeding up the permitting procedures. Because very often it takes years and years to get a permission to build something. So that is also something we're now working on very actively to cut down the bureaucracy. One of the things we're now working on is to define something we call go-to areas in each of the countries, where you say, well, this is the area to build up renewables. If you go and build solar farms, wind farms in that region, already the permitting will be much faster. You can build there fast enough. So that is something we hopefully will work on. The second thing we're working on, quite interestingly, is to bring in more municipalities in these discussions. Because sometimes, especially on the wind energy, there's this pushback where we don't want to look at the wind farms, and it kills the beautiful environment. One thing some of the countries started doing is that they started offering, for example, 1/3 of the wind-produced energy for free to the municipality. So again, we can think about these partnerships, make it a bit more practical, and then speed up the transformation. And with that, the speed in the transformation always matters because people want to see the tangible results. And maybe that's also a good question to mentor Arifaj Mathieu, Deputy Minister of the Minister of Industry, Trade and Industry in Kosovo. And again, if you could highlight maybe the challenges you see, but also how to overcome them. And what would be the examples for Kosovo you would like to share?
Thank you. Thank you. First of all, thank you for inviting us, and thanks to the Czech Ministry of Trade and Industry. Also, I'm glad to be here and trying to share some of experiences that we are facing and how we could work together either as a region or together with the EU community to bypass or to finalize different projects in the green and digital transition. So when it comes to green transition, the biggest challenge, I could say, are coming due to the nature of projects itself, because one project, it's not a simple project, which is taking a lot of effort. First, kind of pre-feasibility studies, then feasibility study, then designing phase, then implementation, and maybe at the end there are other issues or financial issues or budget. So one of the biggest issue I could say, especially to the green transition, is how to simplify those projects and how to simplify at least some of the procedures, or creating a kind of patterns that we could easily initiate other similar projects, not taking like 5 years, 10 years to have or to complete one project when it comes to green transition. Also, another issue, as already mentioned, itself is the cost or the budget, ensuring the cost or the budget for the projects. For example, sometimes there might be a good project and we are convincing one donor, or let's say EBRD or EIB, but then we might need more money, and sometimes we lack to have our internal budget. So in that aim, we should as well work closely with international financial institutions in order to make it a bit easier to ensure the budget is in place. It's good, like, for example, to hear there are 9 billion euros as a grants or incentives, but it's somehow, at least from the perspective of Kosovo, it's a bit difficult how to get those, or how to create a roadmap in ensuring in getting those money, or at least part of money that we could invest to our green agenda. Another issue is also sometimes are coming a lack of experience itself. For example, of course, in some areas we have built some experience, like building a wastewater treatment plant or wind farm, but we need other experiences, like creating another big solar power plant in order to make sure that electricity grid or other actors or stakeholders are not having any issues, or we are not facing any challenges. So we should continue in building more experiences in some areas, and that experience to use in order to reach some EU benchmarks. When it comes to digital transition as well, here we are facing a little bit different nature of problems. For example, we have youth, and our youth are pretty much interested and active when it comes to technology and digitalization, but itself, salaries that are from government or from municipalities, let's say for high-tech people, are not very attractive, and usually they are going to they are going to work for different private companies or even remote to EU companies. So one thing that we need to make sure that some expertise, really we need to pay properly in order to keep that expertise in that field. Also, when it comes of implementing some high-tech projects, like building a public key infrastructure for digital signature. For example, last year we passed the law for digital signature. This year we are continuing to build some sub-law acts, and these are pretty much kind of transposing EU directives when it comes to digitalization. But we need also to implement, to fully implement, and also we need to convince different stakeholders to use it. For example, most likely we have seen and we have heard voices from, let's say, financial sector. They are pretty eager to have it already in place and to use it, especially to reduce bureaucratic burden or administrative burden, because we don't want, let's say, someone just to go to bank for a signature when the law might allow them to do it remotely. So we are trying a lot of things to do and to improve. Thank you.
Mentor, thank you very much. Yeah. And you're right that complexity is a big enemy. And that will be one of the things, I think, that when we go back to Richard online in a few minutes, I think, looking at the complexity of the projects and also taking into account, especially current high inflationary environment when you plan these projects is something we need to discuss much more. That's a challenge I think we all face, in this country. In the past, we thought 2% inflation is too high. Now we've been at 18, 19%, so it's changing all the planning we ever had in the past. So again, I fully understand what you were mentioning. And one interesting point you mentioned, I think, on the digital area is, again, making as many transactions as possible electronically, trying to make e-government tangible to people. Our experience in the past was that also you need somebody to market it for you. And the government is usually very bad in marketing. But I think 2 years ago, we actually had the banks establishing what they call a bank ID, which is basically the same as the e-signatures, and they allowed access to e-government services to every bank client who's using online banking. So all of a sudden, we got rid of this first step that you first needed to go to an office somewhere, a government office, get the electronic signature, and then on to get access. The banks did it for us, and it opened up the environment very significantly. So some of these public-private partnerships make a lot of sense. And again, even then for the financial institutions, it was a nice way to also cut their bureaucracy. So again, there are, I think, good solutions. The government needs to build up the infrastructure. You're absolutely right. But then we need to also look, I think, creatively for more partners. If I then switch to Ambassador Kuka, in the case of Albania. We all heard interesting examples from Ambassador Milarovic a lot on the green side, Deputy Minister mentioning both green and digital. Then when you look at Albania, what do you think would be the flagship projects in the green and digital areas, something you are proud on?
Before answering the question, actually, I want to thank the Czech government, Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Ministry of Industry for being always a very constructive supporter of the integration of Western Balkans into EU. And now with this new initiative, when bringing to the next level, where you bring the local municipalities and local governments to have a real discussion on how to integrate into the EU and how to make a very direct impact to the life of citizens. So I really thank you, and we feel that we have a very good friend, constructive friend, supporting and lobbying on behalf of the Western Balkans into the EU, which is the place where we think we belong. In regards to green energy, Albania has had or has inherited hydropower, so we were not very heavily relying into the coal industry or other industries. So we've had this type of energy production, which in the previous years government continued to support and also to put incentives for enlarging this type of energy production. In the last 10 years, or after we aligned ourselves with EU green energy and policies, we continued, or the government continued, focusing mostly on solar or renewable energies, which was mainly solar power panel projects, and most recently also with wind power. So our flagship projects are projects that were supported by government, given licenses to certain companies for solar power projects, which some of them now have been implemented, or some of them have already started to be implemented and have been in the advanced phases of this implementation. So those are the two major things that we have been going through.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. Darko, you are far away, but you won't escape. And Serbia is a large country. True. But Darko, again, when you look at the green digital transformation, we know that this is the way to go, but also a lot of obstacles on the road, a lot of things we know we could do faster if we could. So what do you think would be the biggest challenges you're facing? Something that also might be what also the EU can look into to help you.
Thank you for this question, but first I would like to thank Czech presidency, you personally, and the Ministry for Trade and Industry of Czech Republic for organizing such an important meeting like this. Why I think it's important? Because representatives of local governments have opportunity to communicate with each other, to listen to the representatives of European Commission, either another organization, to learn about tools, about implementation of the projects, etc. Your question, digitalization and energy transition is a bit complicated question. As we talked 5 minutes ago, we agreed that energy transition is per se a national security issue. As well as digitalization because of cyber attacks, and now the companies have opportunity to store a large amount of data, and we are all must pay attention on that. In Serbia, in Serbia, the digitalization process seems much easier than green transition. Our colleagues from Western Balkan talks about the projects. I will focus on legislation, because I think that's more important, maybe first to set up legal framework, then and bring strategies, then to implement some projects and everything. In the field of digitalization, Serbia set up legal framework. Our e-government application is among the best according to UN Global Survey from 2022. I think it's best in the region. It's in the 40 in the world. There is only UN member states. When it comes to obstacles and problems in digitalization, I would say, as other countries in Western Balkan, sometimes we lack in implementation. We need to strengthen our regulatory bodies. We need to lower the cost of the internet. We need to enable internet in rural areas, fast optic internet, I mean. And this process, I think, continuously, progressing. When it comes to energy transition, in recent years, our government done a lot of work. Our new Minister of Mining and Energy announced a week ago some project, how to ensure a fair transition. As we know, every transition has its losers and winners. So our government will focus to enable as more fairly and just green transition. As a country, we are highly dependent on coal. Some 70% of our energy comes from fossil fuels, electric energies. Our economy depends on this energy, and it will take decades probably to take heavily reforms, reconstructions to ensure this carbon neutrality. In 2021, the government or parliament adopted a legal framework for this green transition, a set of laws, respectively the law of renewable energy, including new laws of energy efficiency, climate. Yet, as European Commission mentioned in the report, we're still waiting for the plan. This plan, National Energy and Climate Plan for the period 2021-2030, with a vision by 2050. The Ministry of Mining and Energy is working on preparation of this plan within the framework of IPA project, named Further Development of Energy Planning Capacity, which is fully funded by European Union. And here we see how important is European Union for our country and reforms, as well as other UN organizations like UNDP and European financial organizations. I would say only one thing. We also built the wind parks. From 2014, we built eight wind parks with power of 400 megawatts, while 2 more wind parks of 200 megawatts is currently under construction.
Perfect. Then, thank you very much. I think one of the important things you mentioned that is a challenge for everybody is the transition of our economies into the greener and more digital era. And I myself come from the region of Ostrava in the Czech Republic, which used to be, under the previous regime, we would call it the steel heart of the country. You know, a lot of black coal mines, a lot of iron and steel production, very dirty. Maybe that's what made us stronger in the region. We're breathing, iron from the very moment we were born in the air. So that might have helped. But also pushing through that transition and making sure that those regions do not get left behind is a significant political challenge. It's easy to get it wrong. It's very easy to forget that we also need to look at the convergence within our countries. We very often talk about, convergence of countries going to the EU average and beating that EU average, but sometimes we forget to look into the regions of our countries. I think that's very important that you also mentioned that. Maybe with that, let me go back to Richard, to Brussels, back online. Richard, several times, we heard the word crisis, about the need to focus our investments, but also I think what Deputy Minister Arifai was mentioning is the simplification of the processes. And sometimes on the EU investments, we tend to overcomplicate things. We tend to be too bureaucratic. And also, what we also see in the last year or so, we don't know how to work effectively enough in a high inflation environment, when whatever we planned 2 or 3 years ago is no longer making any sense. So maybe, Richard, that's one of my questions is, how can we be more flexible? How can we make sure that the investment assistance we have will remain effective, that we can also use the investment incentives to speed up the bureaucratic process and make the permitting a bit faster, and also how can we be, let's say, more flexible in the current economic environment?
Thank you, Tomáš, for this question, and it's also very closely related to what is happening now in the energy sector. I mean, first of all, we believe that we have instruments in our hands that allowed us to react very fast. I think that the COVID pandemic was an important learning lesson for all of us, and that's why it was now much easier to be able to really help when the situation is becoming demanding. Second element, when I'm talking on behalf of the Western Balkan Investment Framework, I think that we have simplified the procedures quite significantly. However, there are still some elements that you cannot simply bypass, you cannot avoid. Simply, the project must be mature if it should be implemented. And irrespectively, when you award the grant or a loan for a project, as long as the technical work on the ground has not been completed, the project will not be implemented faster. We have addressed this in the pre-accession assistance, and now the proposals that we are receiving from the beneficiary partners, together with the IFIs, are much more mature than in comparison with the proposals that we were receiving in the past. Another element that we believe is helpful to Western Balkan partners is the predictability. So we have at our disposal now the WBIF package for the first years of the current financial perspective, or the first years of the EIP that I referred to, where we allocated grant resources in amount of 3.2 billion euros in the EU budget. And this was not only for 2021. This is actually a multi-annual allocation that has been well communicated to the partners. And now Western Balkans knows that there is this funding available, and it's in the hands of the partners to simply propose mature projects that we are happy to support. I was actually carefully listening to what other members of the panel were referring, and I'm actually happy that the projects that they were referring to, we know of them. So another important element is the coordination, cooperation, and really talking together to have good understanding what is available, because then we all can adjust the activities in order to deploy the assistance when necessary. Last but not least, and I'm happy that also some of the colleagues were referring the activities in the renewables that are being implemented by the private sector in the region. I think this will further, and I hope dramatically, increase in the years to come. We have currently under the screening a significant package of guarantees where the banks are basically proposing products to us where we can deploy the EU-funded guarantee that will ultimately decrease the costs of lending for private sector, for investors, for municipalities, for companies to actually invest in energy efficiency, and the interest rate for the loan that they will take will reflect the fact that they are investing in the green and energy transition that is the ultimate priority for the country, for the region, and for the EU. So that would be very roughly from my side. The red tapes on the ground, this is really a major task for the administrations. The EU is always willing to help with sharing the experience from the EU member states. But the final mile must be done by the administrations.
Richard, thank you very much. I think a couple of important things you mentioned. One is the flexibility, because and I think one of the big headaches we had in the past with EU funding was that there was a given time horizon. Towards that end, you got into this mood of spend it or lose it. No politician can afford to actually lose that money. So I think more flexibility, multi-year allocations, I think is something what is important. That there is also this flexibility with planning, with changes. And the second important thing I really appreciate Richard was mentioning is also the guarantees, pushing also for commercial investment, pushing for projects that again need to be done. And energy efficiency, Richard mentioned, is one of the big challenges. Again, when I look back at the Czech Republic, we the most industrialized country in Europe, and as long as the energy was cheap, nobody wanted to push for a significant change in energy efficiency. Now, the Czech industry is paying that price, and we know that we need to speed it up. So I think that is also one of the important messages we learned from the crisis, that in the good times, you need to push, you need to explain why these projects need to be done. We need to learn to put, I think, also a price on the security, and being, I would call maybe a future-proof, because you never know what is coming. But maybe let me go back to also the legal environment, the legal framework. Armen, sometimes the EU is seen as the rule maker. We see it in the digital sphere. We've seen it also in the energy discussions, and for energy, we built the energy community with the specific task to basically align the energy legislation between the EU and our partners, like Western Balkans, like the Eastern Partnership countries. So there are areas where the regulatory dialogue is existing. There are other areas when it's really not. You need to also look at the EU rules. So, when you look at the regulatory environment, what are the things that would help you from the EU side also to make it, more effective also for you than to have your legislative framework much better aligned with the EU?
Well, it is important to mention that Montenegro has opened all the chapters regarding the negotiations with the EU. Among the chapters that are very important are the chapter 27 regarding the environment. And of course, mostly when we talk about EU, we need, basically, EU is like a big brother. What I'm trying to say is that once you have somebody to rely on, once you have somebody to guide you, it is much easier for you to apply the rules and regulations. Of course, that synergy in between Montenegro and EU should be in the best possible way, because that's the only way, that's the only path that we need to follow. When it comes to Montenegro, being a small country, that should have been, for example, like a pilot project for the whole EU. For example, when we talk about digitalization, it is much easier for EU to implement all the laws and regulation, and then with regards to the government of Montenegro applying all those laws and regulation and helping it with a different kind of funds to digitalize as a pilot project, that would be a perfect way to deal with. Then other countries in the Western Balkans should rely on that. When it comes to energy, Montenegro is not dependent from different sources of energy, because we have our own energy. We have mainly our hydrocentrals, and we have a coal mining as well. We have a coal central as well. But it is important to mention that Montenegro has 250, let's say 250 days, sunny days, and that should be used. What is given from God, from universe or whatever, it is something that you need to use, and we need to use it as well. But we need to know, to get the know-how from the European Union. Obviously, there are a lot of stuff that we need to deal with, and there are a lot of good practices. Yesterday and 2 days ago, we had, because I'm switching the topic, we had an opportunity to see wastewater management that you are dealing with here in Czech Republic, which we have problem with because of the lack of infrastructure. And we are working a lot on that, but there are a lot of new, let's say, projects, new ideas that are implemented in Czech Republic, which would be convenient for Montenegro and for the regions that are, let's say, remote. Because Montenegro as a country, geographically speaking, is a very complex country. It has a lot of mountains, and it is very tough when it comes to infrastructure projects, because everything costs 3 times or 4 times more than as opposed to different countries. For example, as opposed to Kosovo. So again, what I'm trying to say is that of course we need to deal with the European Union, and we need to have a good communication with them, and we need to get all the best practices from the European Union, because it is much easier for us to implement something that is already implemented in countries in the EU. So.
Thank you much, Chairman. Anyway, I think the sharing of best practices is what's always been very helpful. Also, I think what helps is that we have basically a given regulatory framework. We know that we develop the European rules. This is, I think, what we all strive then to have aligned. But then implementing that into real life, I think, is what matters.
I would just add that we founded Innovation Fund, which is very good for young people who have innovative ideas, and they don't have the money, they can get it from the fund. On the other hand, we founded EcoFund. We have our delegates here, our colleagues that are from EcoFund, which were very interested in all the solution that you in Czech Republic have. So basically, it is the most important thing for every country, for every government, is to be less hassle for all the investments. What I'm trying to say is that if somebody wants an investment, you need to be as flexible as possible. You need to avoid any kind of bureaucracy. You need to give that money and to check if that money is spent correctly. It is important to avoid all the bureaucracies that can happen, because in these times of crisis we don't have time to lose. We need to solve problems as quickly as possible. So from the government of Montenegro's perspective, we are doing, let's say, a good job for now. Of course, there is room for improvement, but that is our main goal, because the government and all the incentives that are given from the government should be as much touchable as can be. We need to avoid any kind of blocks, any kind of problems that that we can deal with. So even the citizens should have that kind of feeling, and then the marketing would be better for the government. So.
True. And also, I think one important thing you mentioned, the fund for young people, to keep them in your country. I think brain drain is a huge issue throughout Europe anyway, so I think that is important, to give the young people an opportunity to realize their ideas in their own country, not forcing them to go elsewhere. Ambassador?
Thank you so much. I just wanted to add to Mr. Herman's speech the thing I think it's very important to praise. And we mentioned the bureaucracy many times here, and when you think maybe on Bosnia-Herzegovina, the main thing you think it's complexity of political system. But I need to praise the Czech embassy in Bosnia-Herzegovina and the way the Czech Republic is doing things in Bosnia-Herzegovina. I think they found the recipe you mentioned because they are doing things on local levels. There are many other foreign countries, Bosnia-Herzegovina, are tackling the high political issues, but Czech Republic is focused mainly on local levels in Bosnia-Herzegovina, on waters, clean waters, food security, agriculture transition and everything. And also you mentioned the Velvet Revolution anniversary yesterday, and you went the similar path as all Western Balkans, luckily without the war, and you can be a great mentor to us on this path. And also here today you mentioned the young people. I'm so happy that we have our mayors of municipalities in Bosnia-Herzegovina and big cities here. I can assure you that they are young, they are willing to make some improvement and make some things better in our country. So I think you have partners in them on whatever you may find interesting in this topic. So I think that better times, I hope better times are coming for all of us. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ambassador, for a bit of optimism in this dark day. But usually around 11, it usually gets better. So we still got about a few minutes. Maybe let me do, because we still have Richard online and he can't defend himself effectively. So maybe let's use this opportunity. And we've talked about a lot of things we can do, a lot of challenges we need to overcome. But basically what we still keep moving around is the EU-Western Balkans partnership. So if we were to define one or two things you would like the EU to do better for you. And then Richard will listen. Many of those probably will not be his area, but maybe he'll find some things then to respond to. But simply, one or two things you would like to see from the EU, Ambassador.
I can sum this only with one word: EU being more engaged in the Western Balkans. I think this is a key word because we have seen that. I will bring actually the example, the crisis during the COVID crisis, where there was a lot of discussion, there was a lot of talking between Western Balkans countries and also EU, where EU promised that we were going to be part of their policies on how to address the COVID-19 crisis. But at the end of the day, after the decision was made and the EU had already made agreement on where to find the vaccines, they promised some funds for the Western Balkans, but they did not allocate any amounts of vaccines. And that led all those countries on the cold. And as we mentioned, as my colleague from Montenegro mentioned, we are small countries. So we do not have the same buying power or same negotiating power individually, or even as a whole region. So we needed that support at that time. And what happened was that each of our countries, obviously, governments, they needed to address the need of their citizens. So every one of us went and started doing negotiation on their own with lobbyists or individually with different countries. And what happened was that we saw that the other political factors or other entities found this void and took the chance. And we saw vaccines from Russia, we saw vaccines from China, and from many other countries. So I think, just want to go back, that this is an example to learn. And I'm very glad to see that after many discussions, we see now even this type of summit. And actually, I want to congratulate Czech Republic for also being in the forefront for pushing this kind of policy, for making European Union to be present in the Western Balkans. We have seen now that Western Balkans countries have been part of the discussion about how to resolve the energy crisis. And we saw that with the example of our ministers being part of the ministerial here. We have seen that Western Balkan countries have been now part of discussing immigration policies, and we saw that with Justice and Interior ministerial that thankful to the Czech presidency was held in the region, in Tirana. And so we see that this new shift is going into a way of how European Union is doing policies and politics. So we hope that one thing they should do is to be present. At the moment that EU is not present, someone else will take the chance.
Thank you. Mentor, I think being more present is clear tasking. What else, Mentor, would you ask on the list?
Thank you. It's maybe a unique case, but in perspective of young, talented people that are in Kosovo, we need and we are asking EU to fulfill the visa liberalization process, because it's very, very interesting when we are seeing some, let's say, businessmen or managers that are traveling to EU and they are getting 5-day visa permit to enter. So within those few days visiting any EU country or trying to make any business-to-business meetings or cooperation, so it's lacking a lot, and also like people in Kosovo are feeling that something it's not right, because 95 or more benchmarks are being filled by Kosovo, so then we are just waiting and waiting for many years. So I think EU should do that for Kosovo as well, and that's going to help us in order to promote more job creations and more attracting more investors and developing more our country. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Darko, what is on the Serbia's list?
Well, the Serbia, during the COVID period, Serbia was the country that first gained vaccines and everything, and tried to help the region by donating some vaccines to Bosnia. I think our president brought some vaccine to President Zeman here. during the COVID, it was obvious that digitalization was in very good condition, because Institute for Public Health was connected with the e-government application, and everyone who took PCR tests or vaccines were immediately, you can check it. When it comes to role of European Union, it's the main political, I think, and strategic thing for all Western Balkan countries. But as my colleagues mentioned, we also believe that European Union should give more attention to Western Balkans, especially now when China, arises, and we have also some other forces outside Europe. So maybe Commission should focus more on political support, maybe to foster this process of joining the European Union, to open some clusters.
Okay, thank you very much. Ambassador, what would you add to that list?
I completely agree with Ambassador Kuka and with Darko also. The main thing, and I think it cannot be mentioned too much times, because it's very important, especially speaking from Bosnia-Herzegovina side, even dangerous, because when you leave a vacuum, someone else will step in, and that is what is happening in the recent years, and that is what EU really needs to take seriously, and especially regarding Bosnia-Herzegovina. And when we to get back on this topic, I can just say when it comes to water, wind, sun, we may have maybe the best conditions in that part of Europe. So investments, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Armand, your final wish list.
I think the synergy between Western European countries and EU should be in a higher level. It is much easier to fix the problems that we have from the European Union than for us looking for fixing the problems. Because it is much easier if you have a product, if you have the idea, and then to implement it, than if you don't have an idea and to search for it. European Union has the brains. European Union has the ideas, and of course we need that. We need that. I just hope that European Union should be mostly focused on economic development, tourism development, not on the politic sphere development. What I'm trying to say is Montenegro is currently facing some kind of crisis with regards to politics, and of course that can be overcome and that will be done, but the development should not stop. So everything what we need to deal with right now. So I just hope that European Union will basically they will put the focus on the Western Balkan countries and give much more incentives, because as we already know from Croatia, when they entered the European Union, they basically flourished. Let us hope that we as well, we will be part of the European Union and we will flourish as well. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we still have Richard online, hopefully. We still do. Richard, you heard a long wish list. And I know you can simply say, well, 95% of that is out of your scope. But if you pick up 2 or 3 key things you would like also the Commission to work on in the next couple of months and years, what would these issues be towards Western Balkans?
Thank you. And thank you for these very, very concrete and useful suggestions. Well, I believe, first of all, when we talk about the energy crisis, that we are doing exactly what needs to be done at the moment as quickly as possible. So I already referred to the 1 billion package that the President announced in Berlin on the 3rd. And let me just say that half of this budget will be made available to the Western Balkans as early as January to really have the funds at their disposal to cushion this spike price increase for the vulnerables, for the vulnerable citizens, for small medium enterprises, and basically help to get through the most difficult period ahead of us. The second part of this package will continue supporting the region in mid and short and mid-term, but that very much also will depend on how fast and how quickly the countries will be able to propose new proposals that we can co-finance. And in this respect, let's also take note of a very positive development that we had in Berlin under the common regional market, also talking about the exchanges and cooperation between the people in the region. So we were very much pleased to see the three regional agreements signed in Berlin, and we hope that more will come, because also the Western Balkan exchange, recognition of diplomas, and allowing people to be active is equally helping the whole region to grow. So that would be the key takes from my side. And as I said, we believe that the region will very much feel the assistance that we are providing.
Okay, Richard, thank you very much. I know you need to leave for another meeting. That was Richard Mácha, Head of Sector for Western Balkans Investment Framework of DG NEAR. But with that, I also want to thank all of you. And the key messages I take from the final round is the EU needs to be more present. But I hope you all know that you have a very good friend in the Czech Republic in that we will keep pushing. We will do as much as we can to keep Western Balkans as close as possible. Second thing, I think economic development and tourism. Yes, I might remember 250 sunny days in Montenegro. Okay, I'll keep that in mind. But I've been to all of your countries, and especially when people get a chance to then get outside of your capitals and see the beautiful country, that is an enormous experience, and I'm looking forward to actually going back once the COVID is over and we can all travel again. Also, one more important thing that we will keep talking about, I'm glad we still have EIB people in the room, is access to finance. That is important thing, and we need to make sure that the money is available and that you can invest them. And a final point, maybe a bit of a warning. I think you mentioned the COVID experience. I think some things we have learned. Now you see the work the Czech presidency is leading on the joint purchases of natural gas, that we are once again united, and this is the platform that will be open to Western Balkans and the Eastern Partnership countries. That was one of our key conditions to make that, exactly remembering the vaccine experience. But also I think what is more important is that we learn from one more lesson of the COVID times. I remember how shocked I was in March 2020, that the first political response in many countries was put up the borders back again. I think at that instinct, even after demolishing the borders in Europe for 50 years, that was the first political response was very scary. So I think we need to keep reminding everybody how dangerous it is to keep up the walls and do everything to dismantle them. And then once again, with that, let me thank Ambassador Martina Milnarevic of Bosnia and Herzegovina. Ambassador. Mentor Arifaj, Deputy Minister of Industry and Trade of Kosovo. Thank you. Ilirian Kuka, Ambassador of Albania. Armen Mila, State Secretary, Minister of Economic Development of Montenegro. And in the far corner, fighting bravely, Darko Nikolic of the Embassy of Serbia. Martin?
And of course, Tomáš Prouza, Special Envoy of Minister of Industry and Trade for Czech Presidency. Thank you very much. That was the end of the first segment of our today's meeting, and I think it was very interesting and bringing some real touch of the issue. I would add only one thing to what we heard, and this is that sometimes we, as member states, and you as a candidate or future candidates, or sometimes we tend to think that Commission is omnipotential. It is not. And as a member states, we sometimes like the idea that Commission is in our hands, because after all, we are the EU. So it's not only pushing the Commission to do this and that. Now I'm afraid it's pushing us to push on Commission to do more on that. We have councils of ministers, our ministers. We have Parliament with our deputies. It's in the hands of member states to ask the Commission to be more active on the Western Balkans. You could be of a help to us. You push on us, we push on them, and together, stronger together, well, we can do much more. Thank you very much for your opinions. And now I would like to offer you a coffee break outside in the lobby. And I hope that you will use the coffee break to visit the small forum of or exhibition of smart cities technologies. You will find it definitely useful and interesting. I'm sure there are colleagues ready to explain details to you. And let's use this opportunity to get acquainted with some technologies we offer. And let's reconvene in 15 minutes in this room for the second panel. Thank you very much.
In 2050, 2/3 of the population will live in cities. But what will cities look like? Will they offer a good quality life? We thought about this, and we've combined some of the best Czech solutions that help create smart and sustainable cities, places where people want to live. Imagine yourself in a city of tomorrow, a city for your future. The first rays of sun wake the city up and pour energy into its veins. A smart grid assures efficient distribution of energy from local sources to the closest points of demand. Sharing energy gives a new meaning to your community and gets you in sync with the cycles of nature. Yet, the sun can power your house or charge a car, even at night. How so? Thanks to battery storage that accumulates solar energy from the day. Morning routines are easy with digital identity. Your work agenda is one click away with peace of mind about online security. Leaving for a meeting? Don't skip breakfast. Scientifically balanced food with 42 essential nutrients is available in seconds. Health is a priority. Want to know if you should walk, drive a shared car, or take public transport? A mobility app uses real-time data to find the best options and keep you on track. Our city is running on renewable sources, but not exclusively. Ultra-safe small reactors cover fluctuations and ensure the city is fully energy independent. Control systems weigh and measure vehicles as traffic flows by. Those that pass are allowed into the city. Overweight and oversized ones are reported and diverted to maintain functional and damage-free roads and infrastructure. AI crossroads make traffic lights responsive to people and traffic and alert drivers through co-op units in vehicles. No worries, crossing and driving the streets is safer than ever. Hello again, AI Vision. Thanks for solving parking for me. This used to be a nerve-wracking experience. Not anymore. It's a pleasure to come across a smart pole with all the public goods it provides. A charger comes in handy. Leave fire risks and lengthy charging times in the past. Cars now have battery-packed coolers.
We would say right.
Smart trees revive the city environment. Greenery and water purify the air and alleviate your mood. Forget buying and validating tickets or being checked. Simply activate your transportation pass with digital identity. Did you know Hydrogen trams are extra clean and need no overhead lines. Capacity issues in peak hours are eased by modularity. Autonomous modules expand trains where and when needed. Now, let's take a break and shop online for groceries. It saves you precious time and is effortless with a personalised guide. What's it like when sustainability, nutrition and care for your health combine? The wide range of fresh local produce and data-driven superfoods provides a clear answer. Your favourite plant burger and cricket protein bar are no-brainers. Optimised logistics help deliver them to you when it suits you best with a minimal environmental footprint. Dynamic distribution of goods is crucial. AI sets strategic locations for logistics centres to supply the city with max efficiency. Using satellites and data from space, your order is processed where it makes most sense. Eager for locally produced premium quality food? Meet and appreciate the hydroponic, aquaponic and cricket farms, transforming the power of the sun into valuable nutrition. Cricket farms upcycle organic waste and provide environmentally friendly proteins. These can enhance any common food, such as fruit bars. Hydroponic farms grow plants with no need for soil. Picture an ecosystem where the sun, water and bumblebees, helped by people and robots, work together in harmony. Aquaponic farms bet on natural synergy between plants and fish. The circular system saves water and guarantees 100% organic produce. Great, plants are ready for harvest. Why not use some of them to create high-tech, nutrient-charged meals, such as your favourite green burger? Let's take a ride with fresh supplies. Autonomous robots assure the flow of goods in the production area and last-mile deliveries to customers. Warehouses use software predicting demand and supply. What a relief in optimizing production and stock. It saves energy and prevents waste. Want to look inside? AI-driven X-ray vision checks quality and makes sure your orders are on track. A shipping software arranges the best means of transport and generates cloud documentation. Cargo drones are convenient for deliveries as they ease ground traffic. Rest assured, automation and robots make your delivery smooth and reliable, and they liberate people for more creative tasks. The drone finds your location. Ready? SMS, go. With the Galileo satellite system, it knows where and you know when. Ever seen your city from a bird's eye view? There is so much going on. Big data is no longer a scary phenomenon, but a valued advisor integrated into a smart city platform. The infrastructure responds to events and people stay informed via a public portal. Grid analytics is just one of many layers where real-time data helps detect and promptly solve problems. No more blackouts. Nature suits the city centre. Green facades clean the air and cool down building envelopes up to 30 degrees Celsius. Curious where all the water comes from? Capillary irrigation uses wastewater, a cleaning technology, and plant roots recycle and reuse it. Even bees feel at home here. Remotely monitored beehives give them full comfort. Add a rooftop microphone and you have perks no employee would reject. A simple verification and the package is yours. New energy for your meeting. Accessing buildings has never been easier. Open the door with a simple phone gesture and you are logged in to enjoy all amenities at hand. Feel free to use HerbaShares or dive into a hybrid office experience to check occupancy and handle workspace bookings. Time to enjoy meetings. Modular partitions with noise cancellation and digital blinds allow for privacy. Let's turn them into interactive walls. All files are at your fingertips, securely accessed with digital identity. How to keep everyone fresh and focused. Intelligent sensors maintain the optimal values of the interior with the environmental index. Yes, signing off. What are your plans for tonight? Hybrid personal aircraft make vertical takeoff and landing possible anywhere within a 700-kilometer radius. Where to? Beach, mountains, meeting friends in another city, or joining family at home? The sky opens all options for you.
Okay, I'll be able to see it from here, and then how would you move it? Just this thing? You just would move this, right? No, this is fine. If it's up, then I just move this, right? I just wanted to make sure.
In 2050, 2/3 of the population will live in cities. But what will cities look like? Will they offer a good quality life? We thought about this, and we've combined some of the best Czech solutions that help create smart and sustainable cities, places where people want to live. Imagine yourself in a city of tomorrow, a city for your future. The first rays of sun wake the city up and pour energy into its veins. A smart grid assures efficient distribution of energy from local sources to the closest points of demand. Sharing energy gives a new meaning to your community and gets you in sync with the cycles of nature. Yet, the sun can power your house or charge a car, even at night. How so? Thanks to battery storage that accumulates solar energy from the day. Morning routines are easy with digital identity. Your work agenda is one click away with peace of mind about online security. Leaving for a meeting? Don't skip breakfast. Scientifically balanced food with 42 essential nutrients is available in seconds. Health is a priority. Want to know if you should walk, drive a shared car, or take public transport? A mobility app uses real-time data to find the best options and keep you on track. Our city is running on renewable sources, but not exclusively. Ultra-safe small reactors cover fluctuations and ensure the city is fully energy independent. Control systems weigh and measure vehicles as traffic flows by. Those that pass are allowed into the city. Overweight and oversized ones are reported and diverted to maintain functional and damage-free roads and infrastructure. AI crossroads make traffic lights responsive to people and traffic and alert drivers through co-op units in vehicles. No worries, crossing and driving the streets is safer than ever. Hello again, AI Vision. Thanks for solving parking for me. This used to be a nerve-wracking experience, not anymore. It's a pleasure to come across a smart pole with all the public goods it provides. A charger comes in handy. Leave fire risks and lengthy charging times in the past. Cars now have battery-packed coolers. Smart trees revive the city environment. Greenery and water purify the air and alleviate your mood. Forget buying and validating tickets or being checked. Simply activate your transportation pass with digital identity. Did you know hydrogen trams are extra clean and need no overhead lines? Capacity issues in peak hours are eased by modularity. Autonomous modules expand trains where and when needed. Now, let's take a break and shop online for groceries. It saves you precious time and is effortless with a personalized guide. What's it like when sustainability, nutrition, and care for your health combine? The wide range of fresh local produce and data-driven superfoods provides a clear answer. Your favorite plant burger and cricket protein bar are no-brainers. Optimized logistics help deliver them to you when it suits you best with a minimal environmental footprint. Dynamic distribution of goods is crucial. AI sets strategic locations for logistics centers to supply the city with max efficiency. Using satellites and data from space, your order is processed where it makes most sense. Eager for locally produced premium quality food? Meet and appreciate the hydroponic, aquaponic, and cricket farms, transforming the power of the sun into valuable nutrition. Cricket farms upcycle organic waste and provide environmentally friendly proteins. These can enhance any common food, such as fruit bars. Hydroponic farms grow plants with no need for soil. Picture an ecosystem where the sun, water, and bumblebees, helped by people and robots, work together in harmony. Aquaponic farms bet on natural synergy between plants and fish. The circular system saves water and guarantees 100% organic produce. Great, plants are ready for harvest. Why not use some of them to create high-tech, nutrient-charged meals, such as your favorite green burger? Let's take a ride with fresh supplies. Autonomous robots assure the flow of goods in the production area and last-mile deliveries to customers. Warehouses use software predicting demand and supply. What a relief in optimizing production and stock. It saves energy and prevents waste. Want to look inside? AI-driven X-ray vision checks quality and makes sure your orders are on track. A shipping software arranges the best means of transport and generates cloud documentation. Cargo drones are convenient for deliveries as they ease ground traffic. Rest assured, automation and robots make your delivery smooth and reliable, and they liberate people for more creative tasks. The drone finds your location. Ready? SMS, go. With the Galileo satellite system, it knows where and you know when. Ever seen your city from a bird's eye view? There is so much going on. Big data is no longer a scary phenomenon, but a valued advisor integrated into a smart city platform. The infrastructure responds to events and people stay informed via a public portal. Grid analytics is just one of many layers where real-time data helps detect and promptly solve problems. No more blackouts. Nature suits the city centre. Green facades clean the air and cool down building envelopes by up to 30 degrees Celsius. Curious where all the water comes from? Capillary irrigation uses wastewater, a cleaning technology, and plant roots recycle and reuse it. Even bees feel at home here. Remotely monitored beehives give them full comfort. Add a rooftop microfarm and you have perks no employee would reject. A simple verification and the package is yours. New energy for your meeting. Accessing buildings has never been easier. Open the door with a simple phone gesture and you are logged in to enjoy all amenities at hand. Feel free to use HerbaShares or dive into a hybrid office experience to check occupancy and handle workspace bookings. Time to enjoy meetings. Modular partitions with noise cancellation and digital blinds allow for privacy. Let's turn them into interactive walls. All files are at your fingertips, securely accessed with digital identity. How to keep everyone fresh and focused. Intelligent sensors maintain the optimal values of the interior with the environmental index. Yes, signing off. What are your plans for tonight? Hybrid personal aircraft make vertical takeoff and landing possible anywhere within a 700-kilometer radius. Where to? Beach? Mountains? Meeting friends in another city? Or joining family at home? The sky opens all options for you. In 2050, 2/3 of the population will live in cities. But what will cities look like? Will they offer a good quality life? We thought about this, and we've combined some of the best Czech solutions that help create smart and sustainable cities, places where people want to live. Imagine yourself in a city of tomorrow, a city for your future. The first rays of sun wake the city up and pour energy into its veins. A smart grid assures efficient distribution of energy from local sources to the closest points of demand. Sharing energy gives a new meaning to your community and gets you in sync with the cycles of nature. Yet, the sun can power your house or charge a car, even at night. How so? Thanks to battery storage that accumulates solar energy from the day. Morning routines are easy with digital identity. Your work agenda is one click away with peace of mind about online security. Leaving for a meeting? Don't skip breakfast. Scientifically balanced food with 42 essential nutrients is available in seconds. Health is a priority. Want to know if you should walk, drive a shared car, or take public transport? A mobility app uses real-time data to find the best options and keep you on track. Our city is running on renewable sources, but not exclusively. Ultra-safe small reactors cover fluctuations and ensure the city is fully energy independent. Control systems weigh and measure vehicles as traffic flows by. Those that pass are allowed into the city. Overweight and oversized ones are reported and diverted to maintain functional and damage-free roads and infrastructure. AI crossroads make traffic lights responsive to people and traffic and alert drivers through co-op units in vehicles. No worries, crossing and driving the streets is safer than ever. Hello again, AI Vision. Thanks for solving parking for me. This used to be a nerve-wracking experience. Not anymore. It's a pleasure to come across a smart pole with all the public goods it provides. A charger comes in handy. Leave
So we have the PowerPoint presentation. We are the end of the... I'm going to the I can read that. It's too far away from me. My eyes are okay. But don't worry. I can move both, but I can do both digital and analog. Okay. Eyes are not as good as they once were.
Eager for locally produced premium quality food? Meet and appreciate the hydroponic, aquaponic and cricket farms, transforming the power of the sun into valuable nutrition. Cricket farms upcycle organic waste and provide environmentally friendly proteins. These can enhance any common food, such as fruit bars. Hydroponic farms grow plants with no need for soil. Picture an ecosystem where the sun, water and bumblebees, helped by people and robots, work together in harmony. Aquaponic farms bet on natural synergy between plants and fish. The circular system saves water and guarantees 100% organic produce. Great, plants are ready for harvest. Why not use some of them to create high-tech, nutrient-charged meals, such as your favorite green burger? Let's take a ride with Fresh Supplies. Autonomous robots assure the flow of goods in the production area and last-mile deliveries to customers. Warehouses use software predicting demand and supply. What a relief in optimizing production and stock. It saves energy and prevents waste. Want to look inside? AI-driven X-ray vision checks quality and makes sure your orders are on track. A shipping software arranges the best means of transport and generates cloud documentation. Cargo drones are convenient for deliveries as they ease ground traffic. Rest assured, automation and robots make your deliveries smooth and reliable, and they liberate people for more creative tasks. The drone finds your location. Ready? SMS, go! With a Galileo satellite system, it knows where and you know when. Ever seen your city from a bird's eye view? There is so much going on. Big data is no longer a scary phenomenon, but a valued advisor integrated into a smart city platform. The infrastructure responds to events and people stay informed via a public portal. Grid analytics is just one of many layers where real-time data helps detect and promptly solve problems. No more blackouts. Nature suits the city centre. Green facades clean the air and cool down building envelopes by up to 30 degrees Celsius. Curious where all the water comes from? Capillary irrigation uses wastewater, a cleaning technology, and plant roots recycle and reuse it. Even bees feel at home here. Remotely monitored beehives give them full comfort. Add a rooftop microfarm and you have perks no employee would reject. A simple verification and the package is yours. New energy for your meeting. Accessing buildings has never been easier. Open the door with a simple phone gesture and you are logged in to enjoy all amenities at hand. Feel free to use Herber shares or dive into a hybrid office experience to check occupancy and hand.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. Of course, not you, you are already here, and you took your seats already, but that's a message for people in foyer. So, let me welcome you again in this beautiful room, out of which we do not see much today, but we especially opted for this room because of the beautiful view which is normally provided by those big windows to the Prague Castle. And practically from Prague Castle we have our moderator of the second panel, Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Kurfürst, who do I welcome warmly here. And let me introduce you also speakers of the second panel, which is called Western Balkans Economic Cooperation in the Field of Green and Digital Transition. And who do we have here? It's first of all, Susan Goranson, Director, Infrastructure Europe of EBRD. Oh, maybe we can welcome Mr. Goranson. Thank you. Matteo Rivellini, Head of Enlargement Division, EIB Global. Marek Nohail, Program Manager, EU Policies of DG NIR. Daniela Arsovska, Mayor of Skopje. Welcome. And Alban Zogaj, Deputy Mayor of Pristina. I will leave all in the hands of Mr. Kurfürst, but I would like to remind you that unlike the first session, here you will be offered the floor as well. So if you have some remarks or questions, please note them, and with the help of those two microphones you see, you will be asked for us, well, given opportunity to ask them at the end of the session. So this will be more interactive session than the first one, and I hope that you will make a good use of it. After this session is closed, I will again come and explain what will follow in the afternoon, but for the moment I will be leaving you, and I leave all in the hands of Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Jaroslav Kurfürst. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Martin Pospíšil made my life much easier because he introduced all the panel and also the discussion, so great thanks to him, and greetings from my side. This will be the panel which will be dedicated to the smart cities, and I will start with a little frame of that discussion which will follow. And there will be contribution from, as you saw, the international or financial institutions, the representatives of the Commission, and then the mayors or vice mayor from the region. So that is a very representative panel to discuss that very topic. We're discussing in the situation when there is a war, when all the geopolitical tectonic plates are moving, and it has the impact of all levels of politics, but all levels of the life of the people in Europe. And I think it has also the big impact on the thinking about the role of the municipalities. There is this magic word, resilience. As a Czech presidency, we wanted to promote resilience as a concept, and we thought that we will be inventing what the resilience means, for example, on the municipal level. There was also the conference in Liberec dedicated to resilient municipality. And one of the conclusions out of this war is that Ukrainians are teaching us what resilience does mean. Because that sort of resilience which is there, it's really admirable, and the state is functioning even after this terrible bombing. So resilience is there, and municipalities, this is something where resilience starts from the bottom, that it will be functioning. And of course, decentralization is part of it, but smart cities, a sort of decentralization of services, smart solutions, this is part of the resilience. I got here a very nice definition of what smart cities means as a concept. So let's frame the debate by this. Smart cities is a concept of technologically modern and sustainable cities able to collect specific data which are later used to manage assets, resources and services efficiently. The data are retrieved from citizens, devices, buildings and analyzed to improve functions of transportation systems, power plants, water supplies, networks and waste. The concept is our future, therefore it is supported by many actors through various financial instruments. So basically that's the definition, that's what we will be talking about. There will be different discussions. Here we will be speaking a lot also about the enlargement instrument, the IPA 3, where the Czech Foreign Ministry has some stake because we are trying to connect the Czech businesses, Czech non-governmental sector with the means how to implement the projects through the IPA 3 in, of course, the countries of the Western Balkans, the countries which are on the road to the European Union. So all this is a big frame of our discussion. How we will be organized as a panel. First, I will give what I call free ride, the presentation, the introduction of to the topic of each of the panelists. And then after this presentation, there will be one question I prepared for each panelist. And then if the panelists will not be interested to react on each other, then I would like to have the interactive discussion and invite you into the debate, and then we'll proceed together, all the participants. So let's start with Susan. Let's start with you, and this will be the presentation what the EBRD can do. The title is EBRD Green Cities Program and Digital Approach. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I'm really honored to be here with mayors, my colleague from EIB, and also to say how pleased we are to explain what EBRD is doing with our Green Cities, which is our flagship municipal program, as well as the digital approach. So what's the context? We see that digitalization is increasing in our countries of operation. We see that infrastructure is growing, and we also know that companies that are investing in digital grow faster. But at the same time, we also see risks. We see a lot of the decisions are supply-driven, and are not data-driven with an impact on benefiting the lives of people. And also, we know that there's the risk of digital divide. So as a result, as a part of our strategic capital framework, we have a digital approach, which has 3 key elements: building a strong foundation, helping our clients to adapt, and this is through embedding digitalization in all of our operations. In EBRD Green Cities, it's totally embedded, but also then to just look at what is to support our cities to support all of our clients, I should say, by providing digital audits, digital maturity assessments, as well as supporting them with cybersecurity, which indeed, in the context of the war, is a key concern which we see for a lot of our clients. And then finally, just to look at ways of innovation. But as I mentioned, when we look at SMART with cities, we incorporate that into our flagship municipal program, which is EBRD Green Cities. This is a $5 billion program combined of EBRD's grants, EBRD's loans, as well as grants from our donors, to help cities identify, benchmark, prioritize actions, as well as investments to help them address their climate change and environmental challenges, but to do this in a way that is inclusive, looking for co-benefits, and also harnessing the benefits of digital to help them leapfrog forward. And we see this particularly where we can do a lot of work in the Western Balkans. So going forward, this is just a nutshell of what the EBRD Green Cities is in practice. What we're doing is in all of our countries of operation. It's for any city with a population of more than 50,000 people. And the key element is that the city has to be willing to implement a Green City Action Plan. And the Green City Action Plan really is the heart of the program. And I show our map. We have 56 green cities, but if you look, I'm really proud to say when we're looking at the Western Balkans, 11 of the cities are in the Western Balkans. And for the capitals, we've already completed the Green City Action Plan, and Tirana was one of the first green cities. So we're very proud of our work in green cities, particularly in the Western Balkans. But when COVID happened, we decided to reassess our Green City Action Plan methodology. And what we found during COVID, cities that had good understanding of digitalization fared better. They were able to cope and provide services. We also recognize that when promoting green and promoting digital, we need to emphasize the co-benefits. Too many times when you talk about smart, it doesn't resonate with the population because people becomes technology and supplier driven as opposed to using data and digital services to improve delivery of services, to improve the lives of people in the city. So through our Green City program, we do this through the GCAP, which I can talk about in another slide, but we also do this through our investments, where all of our investments, we look to find where digital can help that investment leapfrog, improve benefits, but also with capacity building, providing technical assistance to our cities, as well as by knowledge sharing. And we have Green City officers for all of our cities that are part of the Green City program. And these Green City officers participate in regular training activities and annual events where we all come together and share best practice. And I really think cities learning from each other is one of the best ways forward. So just briefly, how the Green City Action Plan works. This is basically the heart of the program where what the beauty of it is it helps a city plan better because they're bringing all elements of the city, all players, municipal government, all the municipal companies, municipal utilities, at the state level, private sector, NGOs, citizens, universities, to come together to comment on when the city identifies its priorities, to say, are these indeed the priorities? And this is why we feel this also works with digitalization, because if you are going to develop a smart plan, it works best when you have a feedback loop, which is bringing in what are the needs of the population. So through our Green City Action Plans, we look to see, are there smart components that can help the city deliver and do more? We look to see, are there smart strategic development that we can support a city with if some cities have a clear focus on developing their smart capabilities. And then finally, looking how we can add it into our infrastructure investments. So, next slide. Clearly, I can't multitask. So so the heart of it, when we're recognizing no city is unique, all cities are unique. No city is the same. And when it comes to embedding digitalization into green cities, we need to start looking at where is a city starting block. And how we do that is first to look what is the base, what is technology is available in that city, because then we can work with the city to see how they can use the data to help better decision making. But before a city can really meet scale, and that's the yellow in this, if you're looking at the assessment, the population also has to be have access to the digitalization approach. And so then on the left-hand side, you can see some of the areas how we can work with cities by having elaboration in our projects, having enhanced policy development, focusing on cities, and focusing on developing a smarter city approach. And then let's go to the next slide. So what are some of the examples of what we can do in smart solutions? Since I think these are a list of some of how we incorporate them into our project, but maybe I can use two examples referring to two capitals in the Western Balkans. One is the city of Skopje, we had the pleasure of signing alongside EIB a very large wastewater treatment plant project in Skopje. This is the first wastewater treatment plant in the city. And in working with the designers for this project, one of the things we've introduced is state-of-the-art smart sensors. The state-of-the-art smart sensors will enable the city to optimize the performance of the wastewater treatment plant, which will increase energy efficiency, reduce cost, and result in better services for the population. And to us, this is a great example of how you can use SMART to demonstrate the benefits to the population. Another example is traffic management. We are working a lot also with our colleagues at European Investment Bank in the city of Sarajevo to support traffic management. We're working on trams, and also helping reinforce the roads. And we have introduced traffic management components with sensors which will help reduce congestion, which is so critical in a city like Sarajevo, which is in a valley. And with many of the cars being diesel, this results in really bad fumes. So these are sort of some of the examples of how we can use smart solutions to improve the lives and services in a city. And then finally, just to say, we have projects under development. We are developing infrastructure digital toolkits, as well as more in-depth city digitalization initiatives. So watch this space. But in summary, there is a lot to do in the smart space. But what we think is the most important thing is to make these smart solutions into something that benefits the population. And just as a closing remark, I ask everyone in the audience, when you have time, just to Google smart cities and to see what picture comes up if you do images. It's always something very technological, but there's no people in it. And this is what we need to do to make it more people-centric and using data to come with people-centric approaches. So thank you very much.
Thank you for Susan Corenson for the view of the EBRD and what the EBRD does in that field. And then let's move next to the next speaker, and I will give the floor to Matteo Riverini, Head of Unit in European Investment Bank. So Matteo, the floor is yours.
Many thanks and a very good morning to all of you. It is a great pleasure to be here and to represent the EIB, and let me start with a word of gratitude for the Czech presidency to having been capable to maintain the attention on the Western Balkans very high. This is more than ever important nowadays, and to have picked also the topic of cities, smart cities. Often we look at the region only from a perspective of large infrastructures, but let's say the development, the urban development is more and more at the core of the overall development of the region, particularly in the pattern towards European Union membership. Speaking of, let's say, smart cities and more in general support to urban development, at the EIB we believe that is very, very important. It is important just because if you look at the data, let's say worldwide, you realize that 80% of the global GDP is produced in urban areas. If you look at nowadays about the scarcity of energy resources, you look at the consumption of the resources of energy, you see that 2/3 of the available energy is consumed worldwide in urban areas. And more importantly, picking up on people, as Sue Goranson said, by 2050, there is some estimate that say that 6 billion people will live in urban areas, so much more than the half of the expected population by then. And that is the reason why working with cities, with the urban development of cities, is very important for the European Investment Bank. And to give you the order of magnitude of what has meant for us in the last 5 years, the EIB has financed about 96 billion loans across the globe to support investments in urban areas, particularly in urban development, urban regeneration. And that has translated in more than 1,200 operations, each financing being one of operation. So that tells you how important, again, is for the EIB to support the urban development. More, let's say, more in detail, if you like, what does it mean for the EIB to sustain these investments? Well, over time, the EIB has developed a strategy for urban development that is basically a smart city strategy that, you know, by the way, recalls a number of matters that Sue Göransson has articulated in the very important Green Cities program. But to spell out this strategy, we have defined how a project in an urban area can be eligible for EIB financing. And for this to happen, the project, the investment plan, should be sustainable, should be integrated, should be inclusive, and should be innovative. Well, sustainable means that the investment, the project itself, needs to comply with the relevant, let's say, sustainable goals, so the Sustainable Development Goals, in particular on the 2030 agenda, the global agenda, but also need to be compliant with Paris Agreement, and need to be aligned with what the EIB has developed as the translation of this Paris alignment, which is the Climate Bank Roadmap. Integrated means that each and every project that needs to be financed needs to be integrated into a multi-sectoral, interconnected strategic plan of the city. We may refurbish, as we've done in Rouen, in Normandy, the area of the harbor, but this must be linked to the way it is, the entirety of the traffic of the city needs to be reviewed altogether. Must be inclusive. The project to be inclusive means that from design to decision to execution needs to, let's say, the relevant authorities need to proactively engage with various stakeholders, people. Sue Göransson was very interestingly making reference to the feedback. I mean, but that happens throughout the entirety of the life of the project, from design to decision and to execution. An innovative, if it has to be smart, it obviously needs to be rely and lever on the, let's say, the latest technology, the best of art technology that are available, or any other innovative, let's say, element that is applicable to each given project. So that is to say about what is the strategy for the EIB to sustain a smart city project. And that means that we can have, this is impossible. And that means that we can have a number of different projects, a number of different sectors in the context of urban development support, ranging from mobility. Sue Göransson has mentioned the very important project we're having in the city of Sarajevo about urban review of the entirety of the urban mobility to make it more, let's say, livable and better for the citizens, but also going into the social infrastructure and the building infrastructures. For example, in Tirana, we are supporting how to make more energy efficient a number of social housing projects that the city is developing. That brings me to to say that we can also use a number of different financial products, depending on the need, depending on the counterpart, depending on the financial and credit soundness of each and every project. But to simplify, we can finance directly the project. In the city of Skopje, we have, for example, interacted directly with the city on a certain matters, and with the government of the Republic of North Macedonia on others. We can have a framework loan, as we had in the city of Krakow in Poland, where basically we have an umbrella type of financing, where we have single projects to be then supported on a let's say, a given period of time. We have intermediated financing. We have a number of development financial institutions in Europe that are helping us to support cities like Cassa Depositi e Prestiti in Italy, for example, that supports each and every city with our own advantageous funding. And we have investment platform, equity investment in fund that then provides for supporting the private sector that is involved in this smart city project. As far as Western Balkans, I think Sue Göransson has stolen a number of very good examples that I wanted to mention. Let me just mention one that is small but very interesting, which is in Tirana. In Tirana, there are a couple of rivers that are cut in the cities and are not always, the best in terms of cleanness, in terms of the way wastewater is discharged into the city. So we are taking one of these and we are regenerating the entirety of the urban area around the Lana River, going from traffic to building and wastewater network. And this is a very small project that we're very proud of it, that is being executed. And with that, I would like to thank you for your attention, and obviously I remain available for any questions you may have. Thank you.
Matteo, molto grazie per la presentazione molto interessante. That was a great presentation with, I was very pleased that there were particular concrete tools, financial tools, and also the examples. So that is concluding a sort of international financial institutions, and then we can move to Marek Nohail from DG NEAR to the European Commission. Just a technical point. I know that some of you wanted to use that place for the speakers. Please feel free to do whatever is comfortable to you. You can stay sitting, you can go there, just feel yourself comfortable. I will give the floor to Marek, please.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister. It's a pleasure to be here on behalf of European Commission, Director General for Neighborhood and Enlargement Negotiations. It was very interesting to hear from Susan and Matteo, so our partners with whom we are dealing on a daily basis. So let me just complement their angle from our point of view, which is mainly the IPA 3 instrument. As many of you know, certainly IPA has been the instrument that the EU has been using to support the EU accession-related reforms in the enlargement region already since 2007. And the current generation, the third generation of the instrument, brings several innovations. First of all, it covers the 7-year period from 2021 to 2027 with a total budget of 14 billion euros. But it should be highlighted that unlike its predecessor instruments, there are no country envelopes. So this is the first time we have the pre-accession instrument that is fully policy-driven, and it allows us to address the policy issues, policy initiatives that are pending or that are urgent in much more flexible way than it used to be the case before. I should certainly underline that this 14 billion euros figure is composed fully of grants. That's important because it means that the beneficiaries can kickstart even large infrastructure projects without necessarily diminishing their fiscal space, and also provides the leverage through the subsequent loans. And that's exactly where the synergies are created with EIB, EBRD, other international financial institutions, but also EU member states agencies. Unlike its predecessors, IPA 3 has no country envelopes and is centered around so-called 5 thematic windows. From the point of view that we are discussing here today, smart cities, green and digital transition, the most relevant is the window number 3, which is called Green Agenda and Sustainable Connectivity. And it's also the window where the WBIF, the Western Balkans Investment Framework, comes in place as the most important implementation vehicle. And I'm very happy that you could listen to my colleague Richard this morning, who outlined in broader detail what can be implemented through that framework instrument. IPA 3 strategic orientations document, so-called programming framework, already outlines several topics that are relevant for smart cities concept, such as sustainable urban solutions, circular economy, integrated transport, multimodal transport, or digitalization of municipal services. And all this with the overarching objective to increase, and here's the word, resilience towards climate change and driving our societies towards a low carbon future. Talking about IPA 3, of course, I have to mention also the economic investment plan that also Richard Marsha was presenting this morning. And it's an investment plan that brings together a substantial amount of up to 30 billion euros that is partly composed of IPA 3 grant funds in 9 million euros, with the potential of leverage up to 20 million euros through the Western Balkans Guarantee Facility. The programming of this instrument or economic investment plan is done on an annual basis, and there have been already some smart cities, smart solutions project identified and put in the pipeline. I will just mention as an example the introduction of smart meters into the electricity grid in Serbia. But also from the green agenda, green sun transition point of view, once in a generation project like the wastewater treatment plant in Skopje. And I'm very happy that we have the mayor in the panel with us today. So to conclude, I think there can be a lot of synergies explored in this format, and I'm very much looking forward to fruitful exchange of ideas. Thank you.
Thank you to Marek. He walked us through a very important pre-accession instrument, IPA 3, and it concludes a sort of discussion about what kind of financial tools, what the international financial institutions attached to the European Union can provide and can do, what are the priorities. And now we are coming to 2 great cities, 2 great examples, which would be not less inspirative and which can really help the audience to think about how you can better use, or in the best way use, all these financial possibilities of the funding and prioritizing. So we'll starting first with the ladies. So I will give the floor to Daniela Arzowska, Mayor of Skopje. Daniela, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Yes, thank you. So it's a great pleasure to be here. I'm very happy and thankful that we have this opportunity and to have this invitation so that we can present something that we have been implementing in the city of Skopje in the past year. It's always nice to be in Prague because I consider it my second city, so it's something that I was really looking forward to. In general, Macedonia as a country is a developing country, so it has a limited scope of opportunities and of what we can do, considering the scope and the size of our budget. And the same goes for Skopje as its capital. We are well known as a city of smart people with good ideas, but often that's not enough to implement a project because we all know that we not only need smart people and good ideas, we also need some capital so that we can put these smart ideas into reality. This is where the EU, also the EBRD and the EIB come into place. We have had the opportunity to start some really significant projects for the city of Skopje, one of which is starting the Smart City project. The second one is the wastewater treatment plant, and also we have had also the opportunity in the past to be working on some projects into implementing sustainable solutions in the transport within the city limits. These are all something that are going to help us tremendously to do this, not only digital transition, but also to implement the green transition as well, because all of these have in the background not only to make life easier for our citizens, but also to help us transform the city into a city that's going to be not only modern, but also that is going to be sustainable. Because I think that maybe one of the most important things that any reform should be in its center is to make the city to be better for its citizens and to make their lives be easier, to be the services from the city to be more accessible, and also to have life be healthier. So this is where I see actually this great transition, not only from digital, but also to green and to healthy. I would not burden the time with things which are maybe well known to the general public, because all of these projects are something that we've been doing in the past year, and I'm sure that you all know them, but I would really like to focus if some of you have some questions on how we're implementing them and what are the expected results from them. But in general, what we're looking forward to is implementing these big projects, and also we're looking forward to some next projects which are going to be helpful for our citizens, but also for the capital city, which has almost half of the country's population, meaning for the entire country as well. I would like to thank EBRD, EIB, and the EU for all of the opportunities. Hopefully we'll have the chance to go forward with many of our smart ideas in the near future, but also I would like to just give a small remark, because this panel is about the financing opportunities, is that although that we are a country that's aspiring to be an EU candidate and that's going to that direction, I think that maybe the length of the proceedings and of course the complicated procedures might be something that need to be adapted in the near future, so that these funds can be easily accessible for us, especially for the countries that do not have not only the human capacity, but also the know-how on how to easily access these funds. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniela. The smart cities start with smart ideas, and smart ideas are starting with the smart mayors and smart people, and I think Skopje is having that chance to have all this together. Let's go further, and the next speaker will be Alban Zogai, who is Deputy Mayor of Pristina, and he will walk us through the opportunities and the solutions from Pristina. Please, the floor is yours.
Well, thanks a lot. I'll use standing here to just give a short speech that I've prepared, and then I'll go back sitting there for the questions and our comments. So, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, it is a real pleasure to be here with you today and to address this audience on behalf of capital city Pristina, but also my country, Kosovo. I want to thank Czech EU presidency for hosting this event. You have done a remarkable job, and thanks a lot for that. The European Union, both its member states but also its institutions, played and are continuing to play a prominent role in the reconstruction and development of our country, Kosovo. The EU is by far the single largest donor, providing assistance to Kosovo from year 1999 and on, but also to the Western Balkan region overall. In the framework of IPA 1 and 2 and other EU instruments that I will mention, from 2007 to 2020, the EU has invested in our country, Kosovo, more than 1.5 billion euros in reconstruction, public administration reform, rule of law, sustainable economic reform, education, agriculture, social development, civil society and media, and many other key areas in Kosovo. And we are greatly thankful for that. While the EU's assistance initially focused on emergency relief actions and reconstruction, it is now concentrating on promoting Kosovo's institutions, sustainable economic development, and Kosovo's European future. In the context of stabilization and association process that is seeking to bring Kosovo near to European norms and European Union, the EU has several mechanisms to promote economic development on top of its financial assistance, such as trade concessions and treaties that our country is taking part. The European Union's political and financial commitment to Kosovo is twofold, going into two directions. The EU provides assistance to meet Kosovo's institutions and to upgrade its institution building, but also social economic development. And it provides a substantial contribution to the international presence in our country. The EU's financial and technical assistance builds up the capacities of our institutions throughout the accession process, resulting in progressive, positive developments in Kosovo and in the region. So just for the period 2014-2020, the IPA 2 dedicated 11.7 billion for the Western Balkans, as was mentioned previously by our European colleagues. IPA 3 is set to deliver another 14.5 billion for these countries, and we are grateful for that. My city, Pristina, but also Kosovo as a country, benefits from various instruments. TAIEX, European Instrument for Democracy and Human Rights. Also, we have special relationship with financial institutions such as EBRD, EIB, and other financial institutions of European Union. Now, let me just emphasize some of the crucial projects we are implementing currently as a capital city of Kosovo. One of the big projects that we have applied in recent years is the so-called Solar for Kosovo project, where EBRD and, of course, WBIF, KfW are helping us to implement and to produce more than 50 megawatts of thermal energy to the city of Pristina and to the district heating of Pristina, which will help in many ways. Once, the energy efficiency side of the project, but also second, which is equally important, the environmental side of the project. We have a great relationship with EBRD and EIB, as I said. With EBRD as a city, we have bought 51 buses in 2019, and we are buying 30 more next year through a contract that we will sign this year, which are mainly electric ones, and it will help us. It will help us a lot on the environmental side and green side of our agenda in our city. We have signed a loan with EBRD as well, 6 million euros for energy efficiency in public buildings, and it will also help us a lot in energy savings, but also the environmental side. EIB, as Vice President rightly pointed out on the first panel, is supporting us to increase the network of district heating, which is highly important for two reasons. One, saving electricity in this huge energy crisis that we're dealing with, and 2, helping environment and air quality in our city. With the EIB, we are continuing discussions to enter into urban regeneration projects, as Tirana did in recent years. Due to energy crisis, EU just given a direct grant to our country, 75 million euros to support vulnerable households and also vulnerable businesses in order to overpass the energy crisis. Support to the environment, climate action, energy and infrastructure is the largest portion of EU portfolio, and it is also our main agenda. We are a new administration in the capital city. It's just our first year, but we won elections based on this agenda. Green Pristina, smart Pristina, and also the Pristina of experiences, meaning having great cultural activities and sports activities. Of course, there are also some challenges, but for the challenges, I'll talk on the second part of our discussions and on the questions. Thanks a lot. It's a pleasure being with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Alban, for introducing us Smart Pristina and Green Pristina vision. And we have still the time for going through the quick questions, and then we will open it to you also for the discussion. I will start with Susan. What are the main priorities of EBRD in the region?
Thank you. EBRD has a portfolio of 6.5 billion in the Western Balkans. The bulk of it is in infrastructure, and that is because historically a big priority has been trying to address the infrastructure gap. So we have lots of investment projects looking at connectivity, both road and rail, with a strong focus on green, decarbonization across all sectors, particularly working in the energy sector to introduce renewables, corporate governance, inclusivity, gender. But right now, I'd say the biggest focus we see, and finally I should also say Green Cities is always our flagship program. But right now, the energy crisis is something that cuts across everything of what we're seeing in the Western Balkans. So we have placed a renewed priority. First of all, we are trying to support state-owned enterprises with loans, working capital loans to help them buy fuel, just to address this heating season, and given the exorbitant and rapid increase in fuel costs, which have not been accounted for in a lot of utilities. So that's one thing that we're doing. The other thing is we're ramping up our support to governments to introduce renewables. And we're doing this on the electricity side by introducing renewable auctions. Renewable auctions, we have found, have been the best way to introduce low-cost renewable power into a country. And on the heating side, we realize that heating is one of the most difficult areas to decarbonize. And we've been very fortunate because some of the projects that we are working on in the Western Balkans in the heating side are some of the most innovative. I'd like to thank the Deputy Mayor for bringing up the solar district heating project, because this is something very, very interesting and unique to have a solar-powered plant to heat the district heating in the city. This is amazing. However, coupled with the demand-side measures by improving the energy efficiency in public buildings, this is an example of what we're trying to achieve in the heat side. In Serbia, we are working, we have a program called Ready Invest, which we are looking at renewable district energy projects, which include geothermal, heat pumps, solar, and these are working in smaller cities. And then finally, in the city of Sarajevo, we're exploring heat pumps. So a lot to support the energy efficiency, as well as looking at new ways to address the energy crisis. And that's probably summarize what we're doing.
Thank you so much. Well, for the next, unprovoked, brutal aggression of Russia against Ukraine, it was a landscape change, and also it inspired maybe to change some programs or influence some programs. So I would like to ask Matteo for European Investment Bank, did that conflict change something, how and what you are doing in the Western Balkans?
Thank you, and I think it has changed everything, no? This unfortunate invasion, including the way we have looked at matters at the EIB. And if possible, I can ask to have again my presentation being displayed, just because there is one slide that I prepared myself. I mean, the others were prepared for me, but so I'm proud of one slide, because that helps me to tell you the way we have been, let's say, reacting to address, some of the major consequences of this invasion. Food crisis across the globe, additional issues in the supply chains. That is all known, but obviously the energy crisis has been hitting hard European Union and Western Balkans. And that has called us to basically do three things. Number one, we have, as the Bank of the European Union, because, EIB is basically owned by the 27 European member states, and with our own climate ambition, we have decided to become even more the, let's say, implementing agency of the programs of the European Union, such as Repower EU, or which is in the context of Fit for 55, but that has called us as in doing even more in that respect, both within the borders of the European Union and outside EU. Some decisions have been taken at the board of directors yesterday, so I cannot disclose them, but you will see that the EIB is increasing its support to the energy sector in Europe and outside Europe. As far as Western Balkans are concerned, we are intensifying our already existing activity in support of the energy sector. And thank you. So now I can go to my slide. We have, for example, immediately unlocked an additional 8 million euro of technical assistance out of our own resources, for example, to further develop the project that is, certain projects such as the one that I was mentioning in Tirana, so energy efficient social housing, or the speed up of the district heating that was mentioned in Pristina, together with investment that are connected in Obilic in the solar power plant that may diversify the source of power for that district heating. Because indeed, one of the issues is diversifying away from fossil fuels, because that is a mistake that someone is possibly promoting. I mean, this is not an opportunity to be missed, to keep the polar star of decarbonization very clear ahead of us, and that is why we're, for example, intensifying also in Bosnia and Herzegovina our financing for wind power in Vlasic, Poklečani, and other wind powers that are being planned, so to say that we don't move away 1 centimeter from our ambition to decarbonize, supporting decarbonizing the economies of the region. And last but not least, we have established about a year ago EIB Global. EIB Global is, let's say, a branch of the EIB that is now covering the activities of the EIB outside the European Union. And is basically built around a few principles, such as we support the enlargement policies. We are very much encapsulated into the programs of enlargement that are driven by Commission, Council and Parliament. We want to scale up the investments on climate and digital transition, and we want to bring also together with our partners additional financial instruments on the ground. And to do so, we're offering at least 4 things. We're offering more proximity. We are increasing our local presence. We have just opened a new office in Skopje. We are recruiting additional colleagues, experts on the ground. We're deploying more resources. We're asking our shareholders from the European Union to give us more capital to finance riskier projects from a credit point of view. We're increasing our partnerships. we're already partnering a lot with the EBRD and the European Union, but also with other financiers, bilaterals, European bilaterals, and local partners. And we're, let's say, increasing our focus, our business focus. Now we have an enlargement team that is fully dedicated to Western Balkans and Turkey, just to show that we want to be even, let's say, more close to the business opportunities that will help us to support the green and digital transition. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Mato. That was very much about the financial instruments, and I will develop further that idea with Marek, because you presented the IPA 3. So what can be done on the side of the EU, but also on the side of the Western Balkan countries to make a full use, exploit the most of the potential of IPA 3 and also the instruments of European Investment Bank, for example?
Thank you for the question. It's a pertinent one because we are constantly facing the issue of the financial assistance hitting the ground too late. So that's a pertinent one. I would single out in my reply maybe three areas. So let me start with the ownership on the side of the beneficiaries. I think that's absolutely critical because when there's a dedicated beneficiary on the receiving end of the assistance, that usually means that the policy is relevant and that there's a beneficiary that wants really to make the change on the ground. The second area is maturity, and I think we touched upon it a little bit already this morning. Also, Richard, when he was talking about simplification of procedures within the Western Balkans investment framework. Not necessarily only within that framework, but in IPA 3 in general. I think that the maturity is now the key word that we are trying to translate into simplifying our procedures. Of course, it would mean also, on the other hand, that some projects that are not considered mature would be postponed, but it's only for the benefit of the impact of the instrument. So under IPA 3, maturity has become one of the crucial criteria that we are using when designing not only the annual programs but also the blending instruments. And the third one, and here I have to say that in the European Commission we have to also do our homework, is trying to compress the project life cycle. From the inception of the original idea through ensuring that there's enough absorption capacity and also administrative capacity on the side of the beneficiary countries that will allow that the certain project can be implemented very fast. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's develop that idea further. I will now go to Daniela and ask her, with all these instruments, what, from your point of view on the absorbing side, what can be changed to make this more comfortable, more efficient? What would you recommend maybe to change, to improve? Is there anything like this?
Well, I think that we touched based on the discussion previously that not all the countries have the same capacity and they do not have the same know-how to know how to ask and how to apply for these funds. And usually what's complicated is that the entire proceeding kind of lasts too long. This is something that in a situation like this one with the energy crisis, which we have seen has been prolonged, is something that's crucial. The city of Skopje has implemented one very significant project, which is part of the Smart City project, where we actually did smart lighting, we did smart parking, and we implemented several of the things which now at this point with the energy crisis have shown to be quite beneficial for the city, lowering the expenditures from our budget from 30 up to 50% on what we would have spent if we didn't have them implemented. So this is something that can be shown as quite significant for the cities, but unfortunately due to the lengthness of these proceedings, it can be at times quite difficult to get these funds. So I would say that if not through the length of the proceedings, maybe into helping the cities with some assistance into expertise on how to apply for these funds and how to make these proceedings not as lengthy as we have them. I know that at times this is something that might be proven to be necessary so that you have all the steps be fulfilled in order to apply for them and to have a certain security which is necessary on behalf of the banks and on the behalf of the EU instruments which should be put in place. But of course for these systems and for the cities as well to be implemented, sometimes speed is one of the crucial elements. So, thank you.
Thank you. That was a very clear answer. So, speeding up the length of the process is a problem, and maybe that part of the solution could be a capacity building. I would have a very similar question to Alban. What do you said your administration is in place for 1 year, but still already you have some experience. What do you find as a main challenge of using all these instruments?
Well, thanks a lot. As I said in my initial talk, there are challenges, of course. In the first weeks of our administration, one of the first contacts and touches was with international financial institutions that came to introduce their programs, and also that came to discuss with us how we can move on. And we are quite interested to continue relationship with international financial institutions. Actually, we want even a higher intensity relationship. We are saying to them in some respects, please do the procurement for us as well, because that's where we have huge challenges and problems. Because procurement, it comes to the local governments, and then there we have a lot of delays and a lot of problems. And this comes from one key challenge: the absorbing capacities. Our administration is overwhelmed, and I suppose with all the local governments in the region, a lot of daily duties. We are, how to say, learned to do the things a bit differently. And as politicians, we want quick wins. And in these projects, you don't have quick wins. So that's why I usually say, let's find a way to balance these project processes with our mandates. Because sometimes it kills the motivation for the politicians. You know, a very good project comes to the office, and then we ask, well, how much time it will take? 5 years. In 5 years, we're not sure we're going to be here in the office. So let's try to speed up processes in order to cut the ribbon. That's one of the, well, it's a satisfaction, but also, of course, the quality of the project. So we need support in developing applications together, and we have technical assistance on that side of the story for sure. We need technical assistance in feasibility studies, in pre-feasibility studies, and then moving into implementation capacities. Sometimes I see that there is a need also for some improvement in access to information. Smaller municipalities, smaller cities, they have lacked to let's say, to information for such sources and for such projects and funds that are available. Local ownership is crucial, but it's also a challenge. Sometimes projects are donor-driven or driven from the side of the international financial institution. I think the success of the projects is where there is high local ownership on these projects. And what I want to emphasize as a conclusion is that there is a need to have special teams for international cooperation, which we lack. When I say special teams, means that very good knowledge of English, very good knowledge of application processes, and then very good knowledge on cooperation with international institutions. And those teams should be special, focusing only on applying and then increasing relationship with our friends and partners. Thanks a lot. And lastly, just to mention, long processes is of course one of the crucial challenges. We know that for a good project, the process should be long, so the pie should be baking good. But as I said, the mandates and the idea of quick wins and moving towards the implementation of projects is sometimes it's a barrier in this relationship. Thank you.
So basically, that was a similarly targeted answer. The capacity building, the length of the process. Of course, when you have the big projects like building the highway or building the nuclear power station, then it's hard to imagine that you will be cutting the ribbon for sure, because the mandate of 4 years, it's really way too short. But, if you are really doing a great job, then administration can be really lasting for several several mandates. But still, of course, it's in the uncertainty. But that's about the statesmanship, that you don't prioritize your own mandate, your own political destiny in front of the challenges of your country or your city, etc. So there are some visions which needs to be just given priority over the political life of individual parties and politicians. But it's clear that that's the illness of all democracies, that that's a very natural political interest of political parties. Okay, we went through the discussion here in the panel. Before I open the floor to you, I will ask in the panel if you want to react on each other, if there was something you want to disagree, comment on, reinforce the message. Is there anything like this, dear panelists? Yes, Susan, please.
I agree. I think one of the frustrations that we face as a bank is we work with our clients and we also want to see fast implementation. And I wanted to say, building on what the mayor and the deputy mayor have said, is where I see projects that work well is one where the counterpart is committed and the counterpart is empowered to make decisions. A lot of times what we find in public sector transactions is the decision-making process is extremely arduous, and it may take, instead of, if you have the exact same approach in the private sector, maybe you'll get the decision within, a week. Sometimes because of the political processes, it may take 3 months, and this adds on to the delays. So that's one. So I really think where you've got a strong counterpart who is empowered to move forward with the project. And so a lot of times when we work with cities, we really encourage the PIU to have someone that has a direct access to the mayor or someone who can make decisions. But the other thing is, I also would say the importance of advanced procurement. And this is something we're trying to introduce in more of our projects, that we start even during the approval process to start with advanced procurement, so that as soon as the loan is signed, we can be ready to start procuring and bringing in and start the operation. So I do agree with all of you, and everyone we all want the same end. We want to see the projects, the results. We want to have the results delivered. So I hope we can work together with stronger capacity building, empowering the counterparts, and then maybe introducing more advanced procurement to get there.
Thank you, Susan. That was a great comment to the concerns and challenges, etc. Let's now collect a couple of questions from the audience. We have some 10 minutes for the discussion. So there are colleagues here with the microphones. Please raise your hand and if you want to put question or make your own comment, now it's at your time.
I think our presentation is too smart.
Exactly, that's self-explanatory, just you covered everything apparently. But think about your own, let's say, projects, eventual, where maybe you could have a question, how to start, where to start, what kind of project could be addressed to what kind of institutions, either from the Commission, IPA, or the two financial institutions here represented, or maybe some sectors we would like to cover and develop a little bit more. Any question? So there is no question, so I will ask then. I will ask Marek how the process starts when there is institutions in the candidate country. They have a great idea. They would like to come with a smart solution to the smart city future. How they do approach you and how they start? What is the step number one?
Yeah, thank you for the practical question. Maybe before replying, also will quickly react on what was said. We are talking about smart cities, smart solutions project, and smart project doesn't necessarily mean big project. It can be a community level project, and sometimes we face the barrier of the need to go through the central services, but the smart ideas can be sourced bottom up. So never underestimate like municipal capacity and municipal sourcing of the ideas. That leads me to reply to your question. So how the project ideas are sourced. The first in IPA 3, we do sort of the annual programming, and I'm talking in the brackets about the grants part. So leaving aside the blending facilities, WBIF, that has separate procedures. But we basically collect the ideas through the so-called national IPA coordinators, who are either the Minister of Finance or the Minister of European Integration in the Western Balkans, in Turkey, and do the annual programming cycle. So it's in the hands of these IPA coordinators how they coordinate the farther downstream with the partners, how far they will go in the administration, whether the process is just interministerial or it involves the municipalities as well. And then basically we assess the relevance and the maturity of the ideas against the document that I mentioned in my short presentation that is called the programming framework, and that sets those 5 priority windows. This process is done on the annual basis, and as I said, we are trying to sort of squeeze the time that is necessary to assess the relevance and maturity of the projects in order for them to be included in the annual programs that mostly are consisting of key priorities that are supported through grants.
I just want to, just building on that, the importance of starting small. I really think a lot of times when people start with SMART, they think of this grand vision. And to me, the importance of having the right design, planning, and piloting to see, does this work? And sometimes a small, and then you can go on and scale up. Because a lot of times what we see is people come with a very grandiose vision of how they want to achieve SMART. But if the technical capacity isn't there, and also what you want to see for a city to be truly smart, all the pieces have to be integrated and working together. And that, I think you can only get by starting small, piloting, and having a lot of feedback loops. So I fully agree with your recommendation that sometimes we forget about the small, and small can be beautiful.
Super. Still a couple of minutes to go, and Martin Pospíšil have a question, so I will give the floor to him.
Thank you very much. I was not wanting to take out the time of mayors and guests present, but as nobody was reacting from the floor, I will. My question is very practical, at least I hope it is practical, and so will be your answers. I'm a member of the supervisory board of our ECA. When considering the projects in the cities, we usually encounter the problem of risk assessment, and cities are very difficult to bank for us. How do you cope with that? Are cities bankable for you, or you need guarantees by the state, or you work on the basis of private risk, or how do you see cities as the debtor?
To whom is the question?
Yeah, to the banks, to financial institutions.
At EBRD, I'm very proud that when we work with cities, we can lend at the sovereign level, sovereign guaranteed, but our aim has always been to lend directly to the city to the extent we can. And here we have to look at what is the city's creditworthiness. And what we look at is what is the fiscal regime for how the funds flow to the city, how effective the city is at managing its budget. And we have, I'd say, if you're looking at our portfolio, probably 30% or maybe 40% of our loans are sub-sovereign. So we're quite proud of that. And actually what we have found, because the challenge of these loans is they're small. So we size them so they're linked to the counterpart's ability to repay. So a lot of times our loans are to the utilities because they have a revenue generating. But I'm also really proud to say that we have a very large portfolio in Ukraine. And in Ukraine, our clients, even despite the war, except for those clients who are in the war zone, they continue to try to service their loans. And to me, this demonstrates that when you have a well-designed project which is delivering benefits to the city, if they're small, you can have the ability to repay. Now, clearly, if you're working on a large project which may be beyond a city's ability to pay, for affordability reasons, we will look for a sovereign structure. But when we do that, always we build into the capacity building technical assistance to help improve financial operations at that company level with the aim that we can move towards sub-sovereign lending. And the best example I have is our program in Romania. We started lending in Romania in 1995 to the water operators, and these were all sovereign loans that were on lent to the water operators. We subsequently moved into to co-finance alongside of IPA funds. We lent to the water operators with municipal guarantees. And now we lend to those water operators on non-recourse basis. And I think this is something that we're very, very proud of, and it's a path that we try to approach when we're working with our clients. But of course, we have to recognize affordability, and in that case, a lot of projects, I will say, in the Western Balkans have been sovereign, but I think we are trying to work with Pristina on doing a sub-sovereign loan to the urban transport companies, so we're excited about that. So.
No, I think it's a very pertinent question, and I'm sorry to disappoint you, but we remain bankers. So when we lend €1, we want that euro to be reimbursed. So that said, and building on what Susan just said, meaning like our, let's say, banking credit due diligence is very much standard against any type of municipal financing we're doing in Europe or outside Europe, and that brings us to having a rather limited activity that is allowing directly financing the municipalities in the Western Balkans. We're trying to go forward, and we're looking at our friends in Brussels, and we're asking them to guarantee us more, for us to be capable to lend directly to the municipalities. And they've been listening to us, so they've just developed a guarantee instrument that will benefit us as lenders. So in the near future, our direct activities with the municipalities is doomed to grow. So that is the good news. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, as you see, it's all the time good thing to have a friends in Brussels. Be reminded of that, friends in Brussels.
Okay, well, I think we came to the conclusion of the panel. I think that was a very informative panel, full of inspiration for your daily life and for the municipalities, how to become smart. I would like to ask you to give a round of applause to all the panelists and I personally thank all of you, and I will give the floor back to Martin Pospíšil.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Minister, and I thank you for leading us through the debate of the second panel. Now I have a double message. One is for participants. You are invited for a lunch break, which is served in the same premises like the coffee break. That means just outside of this room. But the second message is for the panelists, heads of delegations and ambassadors. Please, for us, we have still some job to do, and this is the family photo. So either with me or with your liaison officers, let's move to the poster in front of which we will be photographed. So for the rest, I wish you pleasant lunch break. Don't forget the exposition of technologies for smart cities, and see you in 1:15 p.m. Thank you very much. So you have...